What's up, everyone, and welcome back to This Is the Show, our Mandalorian after show, and our last one for season 3. Molly, how you feeling? You look sad.
First of all, you have to introduce me as the guest.
Oh, yeah, okay. We have a very special guest this time. She was absent last week, but she's feeling better now. Molly Damon, welcome to the stream.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my god, I can't believe I got you.
Oh my god.
It's actually happening. She's
I'm
here.
being so charitable today.
Yeah, you are. You are. You're charitable every day,
Aw.
spending your time with me.
Hi.
Hi. Well, how are you feeling? We've already talked quite a bit about this episode while we were walking Halo earlier today, but how are you feeling about the season finale?
Well, I liked it. There were a lot of things about it that I guess kind of felt like a little bit of a letdown, but like you said, we've already kind of talked through a lot of our feelings, which we'll get into tonight again. But yeah, there were just like a bunch of things that I thought was going to happen, and they didn't happen. The armorer is just a normal person.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it is like we talked through our feelings. I feel like it actually did quite a bit of the whole season did a lot that I expected it to or wanted it to, but just I feel like it kind of fell flat, which I got into today. But we're here to talk through our feelings, hear from you. I'd love to hear people who thought this episode was awesome. Really, I liked the episode. It's interesting that I feel like I come across really, really critical, even though I still did enjoy the episode. I enjoyed every individual piece of this season, but I think my issue is more with the season as a whole. So
Yeah.
we'll be talking through that. It is just us today. We don't have a guest, mostly because we're tired. And we're just, it's been like 20 straight weeks of just covering Star Wars as much as we can. We had the Bad Batch, we had the Mandalorian, we had Star Wars Celebration, Jedi Survivors on the way. Hilo has a lot to say too.
Oh boy.
Right away. All right, I'm gonna go see who's at the door.
Gotta love Hilo having lots and lots to say. Lots to say. Goodness. Yeah. Anyone who is a member should have the Hilo emoji. So let's get some Hilos in the chat. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat saying that they're glad I'm feeling better. I have made a mostly full recovery, I think. That was my first time, as far as I know, that was my first time having COVID. So it was a lot, but I'm better now. But thanks, everybody.
You and your Amazon packages.
They're for you too.
This one says for you. It says Molly on the box. Okay, where were we before Hilo rudely interrupted us?
Well, I was telling everyone thanks in the chat for their concern of how long I was sick for, and I've made a full recovery. Before that, you were about to get into the episode or something. I don't know.
Is that, yeah, that's what we're here to do. So yeah, I mean, I did like the episode for the most part. It had a lot of fun, cool moments throughout it. It just, as a season finale, didn't have like the punch I was hoping for, I think.
Yeah. It, especially with us and everyone else after the last episode talking about like, who's the other spy? It was called The Spies. Who's the other one? And turns out it was nobody really. I mean, we'll go into it later, but like, I was convinced that the armorer was going to be a spy for Gideon, or like working with Gideon. She just has seemed so sketchy this whole time, this whole season. Like there have been so many quiet moments with her where there's the music and the camera angles just made her out to be like she was hiding something and she was being kind of shifty, and that never went anywhere.
Well, I think it's such
So,
an interesting thing for this series when you can't see people's faces. Sometimes you just insert your own thoughts and feelings onto them. Because I had the same thought. I was like, just something about the visual language. I felt like Rick Famuyiwa was trying to tell me to keep an eye on the armor, but then, yeah, she was fine. She was on Team Mando the whole time. Let's just go ahead and dive into some questions. And right here at the top, since we're talking about them, Scorpionell and Gregular, thank you both for your super chats. Who were the spies? So I have heard, and I think someone in the chat even was talking about this, but I now believe, now that we have seen the episode, I do not think the spies were referring to Elia Kane and someone else. I think it was a biblical reference. That makes the most sense to me now. Basically, I've heard this from someone in our Patreon named Edward. Let me double check that. Yeah, Edward sent this to me a week ago, almost to the hour, the evening of last week's episode, and was like, in the Old Testament, there were a group of 12 spies that were sent into the promised land to investigate. So it was land that like the Israelites were once a part of. Then they were in Egypt and they were enslaved. When they returned, they found enemies in their land and they had to take it back. So I think that the spies are actually the Mandalorians who scouted ahead on Mandalore, and not so much a reference to Elia Kane or someone like trying to hurt the Mandalorians.
or they were just the friends that we made along the way.
Yeah. Which in a way, you are right, because it was a mixture of Bo-Katan's group and the Armorer's group, and they had to make friends. They had to show up and work together. So the spies were friends that they made along the way.
Yeah. And I had never heard of this story from the Bible, so this was all news to me when I started hearing this theory pop up, but it does make a lot of sense.
I replied to Edward's message last week, and I just said, that makes so much sense. It really does. But I was like, I'm going to wait and see what chapter 24 brings. And since it did not reveal another spy within their ranks, which I'm happy about, I'm glad everyone was on the up and up. Well, I am doing a video about this. It'll be out probably Friday or something. So you got a sneak peek. But there's what I think the answer is to that burning question.
Yeah. Are you disappointed that there wasn't another spy?
No, but I think I may have been if I didn't hear about this theory, about this story beforehand. Like, I went to Sunday school. I have heard this story before, but it was not something on the top of my mind. I would not have arrived at that place without someone else sending me that on Patreon. I saw it on Twitter a couple places. So I'm glad that I saw that theory, because if I didn't, I bet I would be having more questions.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time you brought it up to me that the title of the last episode was Spies, plural, and that that means there's probably another one. And my first thought was, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So like, had I not seen people talking about it online, and had I not heard you mention that, oh, it's plural, like that means there's another one, I would never have thought, oh, there's probably another spy in there somewhere.
I mean, it's the classic Star Wars thing of we see a detail, we see something, and we just like dive into it way too hard. when really, I think Jon Favreau was just making a biblical, mythological, archetypal reference with his title.
Yeah.
Which the second I read it, I was like, that is probably it.
Yeah, we were all like, oh, gotcha.
Yeah, Favreau just went over a lot of our heads.
I think what I've learned after watching this finale is that this show is just very simple, direct, to the point, classic Star Wars. And, we are content creators. We are uh, people who want to dissect things and figure out what the deeper meaning is. And sometimes that can work against us when we're breaking down these episodes every week, digging into what could this mean? What could that mean? And like by the end of this season, it was just about like people coming together, working together for a greater cause, like for Mandalore. And I feel stupid for trying to overthink so many different parts of the show, but I know I'm not stupid for doing that because that's kind of like what we do.
Well, it's
Um,
also part of the fun, I would say.
yeah, and it's all fun and games to do that as long as you don't get too attached to the idea of something that you just thought of, which a lot of people can do. And I think I did do that as far as the armor goes. I was like convinced that we were going to find out something crazy about her, and turns out she's just a really loyal cult member
Yeah,
who decided, okay, instead of fighting, I'm going to let Bo-Katan and her people cruise with us without their helmets, and it'll be fine.
right. And I mean, I've seen people say like some people owe the armor an apology. I think I'm one of them. I
Yeah,
think
me
I
too.
overthought the armor, and like I definitely put too much of my own bias into how I viewed her. I've come around on the character quite a bit. First of all, a lot of her like strict rule setting that I was reading into, it only came from that one episode of the Book of Boba Fett where she was basically like, "All right, Den, you have to go and be redeemed in the minds of Mandalore if you can," which is still like not a cool thing to do. But really, the rest of her appearances, she's been pretty chill. I still think she's a cult leader, but seeing her over the course of this season become more and more accepting,
Hmm.
like we were all wondering if Din would be a threat to her power, if Bo Katan would be a threat to her power. And she was like, no, I see what Bo Katan brings to the table. She is no longer going to f- judge people, I guess, if they don't wear their helmets all the time. She's like, you know what? This works for me. I'm going to keep my helmet on, but you don't have to. So as long as she got to that point, I'm cool with her.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of wondering now that they're back on Mandalore. Some of them have never been on Mandalore, but now that they're all there, you know, the helmet rule doesn't make sense because if someone following that rule were to take it off, what would they do? Just go downstairs and take a little dip
Uh huh.
and then come back up? And like that makes me wonder, like, are any of them going to continue to keep their helmets on and follow that rule now that they're all together on Mandalore? Like, doesn't that mean they should be able to relax a little bit, take them
Yeah.
off?
Well, I did not catch this on our first viewing. I had someone in the comments pointed out, but Ragnar, when he takes the creed again, they leave out the part of from this day forward, I will not take my helmet off. That's not part of the creed anymore. I really liked the way it was said. It's just like I will walk the way of the Mandalore and forever keep the words of the creed in my heart, something like that. Where it's a
Mhm.
little more whatever that means to you. If it just means living with honor, great. If it means keeping your helmet on, okay, as long as you're not forcing others to do it. I liked that. But if that's what they're going to do, if they're not like making people if they're not going to make people do that anymore, I don't think they made it clear. And it should have been a moment of like the armor is saying, "Hey, if you want to take your helmet off, I still accept you." And then
Mhm.
Din could have had a thing. I have this thought of the same final scene we got, but if he were hanging out with Grogu and he took his helmet off to just enjoy the sun with his son,
Yeah.
like that would have been a really cool ending. Uh, but I don't know. The helmet rule still bugs me, and I don't know why Din wants to stick with it so badly.
Yeah. And I kept expecting there to be this big shift in this season where they all just kind of like collectively decide, you know what, that rule is dumb. Let's all take our helmets off together, and it'll be like this big emotional breakthrough for everybody. And the fact that we didn't get that, it was just this one absence of a line in the oath that this kid is saying. It's, yeah, I don't know.
That's what
It's kind
it's.
of a mess.
Yeah, it just didn't feel clear in its messaging. And I'm not saying that like all of the children of the watch need to take their helmet off forever now. Like if that makes them happy, then they can keep on doing it.
Yeah.
I really liked that moment when like all the Mandalorians are there and they are watching Ragnar take the creed, and Bo-Katan and the rest of her crew, they have their helmets on, like they're showing respect for the ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to them like reigniting the Great Forge, and the armor like passes that light to Bo-Katan, which I think is a nice gesture also. That like that's the armorer's domain, but she's like, here, Bo-Katan, you do it. And
Mm-hmm.
the crowd is made up of Mandalorians with their helmets on and off. So it's like I really do like the two groups coming together, but it still feels like this rule is like floating out there and it's just kind of weird. I think what makes it weird is Din taking his helmet off in front of Grogu. And the fact that I think we as the audience would all agree that was the right thing to do. And then Din is like, well, now I have to go redeem myself as if that were some sort of mistake.
Yeah.
And that's never addressed. And I'm like, does Grogu feel cool about this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
He, I got the feeling that Grogu felt sad that he went up there and the armor was like, nope, he's still too young. He can't talk yet.
Mhm.
He can't say the creed. He looked so like defeated and sad. And at this point, I'm a little sad that he even still wants to take the creed. Like, I think he should. I don't know. It feels like he's been brainwashed into thinking he needs to say this creed and do everything that they're doing. And
well, Grogu, I think, wants to be like his dad. And I
yeah.
like I still love that all the Mandalorians look at little Grogu and they're like, yes, he is also a Mandalorian. So I love that, but I'm okay with Grogu taking the creed now because it doesn't involve the helmet rule. And I I think that the armorer was like, okay, he's taking the creed. He's gonna walk the way of the Mandalore, and they did not shove a little helmet on his head. So I still would love for that to happen at some point, as long as it's not worn forever.
You know what I just realized? We never saw those baby bird dinosaurs again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that can come back.
That just felt
Oh
weird.
wait, oh you're right, because now they're on Mandalore. What did happen to those?
Like they were like, all right, here's some foundlings. They're part of our crew now. And did they just leave them on that planet?
I'm going to assume they were taken to Navarro and now to Mandalore. I'm gonna assume they're still around.
Yeah. Chad is saying they ate them. Oh no.
I hope not. Uh,
Um,
but yeah.
I was just going to bring up quickly that we're doing a giveaway.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't have a whole lot of time to really promote this a ton. I posted on it on Instagram and TikTok about it.
I meant to bring this up at the start of the
It's
episode,
for this little gentle giant. It's like a rebel style Bo-Katan. There we go. Pew pew pew. And she's got like different
Oh my
heads.
God, Molly!
So yeah, it's like her rebel style look, and it's really cool looking. Like we already had one of these, and then Entertainment Earth was kind enough to send us not one but two to give away. So there's a giveaway link in the description. I think all you have to do is like click on it and fill it out, and that's it.
Yep.
So
Should be simple. Just for people in this live stream now. It's gonna last until I think 8. So for people in the live stream, you've got an hour and a half to just go enter, and we'll give both of them away at the end of the live stream. I will pull that up and check on that timing. But yeah. In the meantime, okay, so all of that was from one question: who are the spies? So let's bring up another question from Nick Alexander. Thank you, Nick. Do you think we will see one of the clones of Gideon or Gideon himself again, or is he gone forever?
he better be dead and gone forever.
Yeah,
I
I'm with you.
I didn't get any inkling that this would not be the end of him. It seemed very final. It seemed like he was really pissed off that Din ruined all of his clones. And we had that big triumphant moment where Grogu's protecting them in that big fire. I'm going to assume 100% he is dead and gone because he's had enough story time, I think. Like, after all we've seen him through, him coming back off screen and with all this stuff, I just feel like we're done. We're done with Gideon.
I kind of feel like he was supposed to be done in season 2. Like him coming back in season 3 just felt strange. The fact that it happened
Yeah.
off his escape happened off screen, and then they very quickly kind of wrapped up everything about his clones. I don't know. Something about it felt like it wasn't the original plan, but like that's me getting into tinfoil hat stuff that I don't know anything about. But I'm like, this all just seemed a little bit weird. That the guy I talked about this with Resistance Broadcast on their show last week, but like he put a gun to his head at the end of season 2 as if he were trying to protect someone that weren't himself. I guess he could be protecting his clones because there's like in theory he could come back, but I don't know. I think Gideon is done. I think his part of the story is over. I will say 99% sure because this is Star Wars and Darth Maul is a thing, but but I think that this felt like a final moment for him. And I really did like that image of him dying alone compared to Bo-Katan and Din and Grogu all like huddled together protecting one another.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a great comparison, contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the first things that you said after we watched this episode this morning was that you felt like it was a reset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important because it seems like after canceling Rangers of the New Republic, after getting rid of Cara Dune's character, they had to rethink a lot of things. And so a lot of this season just felt like them dealing with that problem.
Yeah. That's
And
kind of how I
Gideon was
feel.
part of that, I think. The fact that he came back and was this big bad once again.
Right.
Like
It all felt just a little bit off. And like Din and Grogu were not as central to the story this time around. It was more about the Mandalorian people as a whole coming together, retaking their planet, which is all stuff that was probably going to happen in the story, but just the way it was told. And I wonder if like Pedro Pascal just wasn't available because he was shooting The Last of Us, and that's why we didn't see his face this time around. I don't know.
That's a
I
shame.
feel like a lot of outside things affected this season, but that's the tinfoil hat stuff I was talking about, where I'm like, I don't have anything to back it up. It's just a feeling I have.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But I am glad that we are at the point that we are now. Like, I'm happy that no one died. I'm happy that the episode ended the way that it did, because now it is like a reset. They're back on Mandalore. Din and Grogu are relaxing for once for a bit, and they are safe. And like
but
the
they're about to
next,
go.
huh?
We talked about this on our walk, but they're about to go on court mandated adventures.
Oh yeah, the but that's good though. Like they've set us up to basically start fresh in season 4. Like we can do and start anywhere, go anywhere, you know. But yeah, the fact that the armor was like, there's so many things that I dislike about that whole scene at the end where Din is like officially adopting Grogu, even though everyone was already calling him his dad and Grogu his kid, and like that seemed like it was already well established. But all you have to do is just officially say in front of a crowd of people that I am adopting him to be my son.
Yeah,
And
like
then it's like, oh, okay.
the armorer told him in season 1 that you are as his father. So like Din now telling the armorer like, "Hey, I want to be his father," is like, I mean, weren't we already here? But I did really like her saying, "And now you must leave Mandalore and take him on his journeys." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yay!"
Oh, the whole idea of like him being an apprentice came up this season too.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't not really sure what that means, but yeah, now they were basically told you can't stay here now. Now that you've made this decision, you have to go on your journeys, whatever that
I
means.
didn't see that as like the armor exiling him the same way she was like, "You can't be a part of our covert anymore,
No, no, no.
you helmet taker offer." But I did like, just that's what Mandalorians do. Now we have to go into the galaxy and go on adventures. I'm super into that. But I did want to point out that you noted that even though we as the audience were kind of emotionally already like, yeah, Din and Grogu were father and son, when Din said that, Grogu lit up. So it did mean something to Grogu. I do think that is important.
Yes, like he looked so happy and so excited that like this was official. He was saying it in front of basically everyone he knows and cares about. Like I half expected the armorer to pull out a big stack of paperwork and be like, all right, it's
Yeah.
official now. Fill all this out.
Well, that was 2 questions, and it's 30 minutes in. So, Bill Rudd, thank you for the next super chat. I love that R5 was able to help his buddy Din and with Attack of the Clones rockets, but when did he get to Mandalore? I didn't see the N1 at all, so was he riding along in a gauntlet last episode and I missed it?
I assumed he was on one of the ships that landed there.
I think because I just happened to be looking at images from last week, but now I'll go check. I believe he was in a gauntlet with Bo-Katan and Din.
I loved all the R5 stuff and the mouse droids, like that stuff. Classic Star Wars droid humor.
That was so
Like
freaking goofy, but like I liked it.
it's so funny.
What just
It's so Star Wars.
the one mouse droid shows up and like has little red lights and then goes away and you're like, "Oh no, that mouse droid's going to alert stormtroopers that R5 is here." And then
Yeah.
it just came back with a bunch of mouse droids. Like all they did was bump into him. It was so dumb, but like in the best way. I thought it was very funny.
I can't wait for all the droid builders to start adding little flashing red lights to their mouse
Mm.
droids. And I like literally want to get pulled over by a bunch of mouse droids because I thought it was the cutest thing ever. and they were all just like bumping into him, and he
Yeah.
was like, okay, whatever, peace out, I'm gonna
I,
go.
I think that's the first time a mouse droid has died. Like R5 blew one off the cliff, and I was like okay with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
RIP.
Sorry, MC Lego Boy. I was all right with it. I felt bad for the one that Wreckers smashed in the Bad Batch. The ones going after R5, I was like, they deserve it. Get them out of here.
Mm. I mean, they're just doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
The GBR3, thank you for the next one. With the original Darksaber destroyed, how do you feel about Grogu making a new Darksaber, since he is technically both Jedi and Mandalorian? That's interesting.
I think I said this earlier that like I'm bummed that the Darksaber is gone. I did call several episodes ago that it was probably going to get destroyed. I was hoping it would be destroyed by Bo-Katan and Din and just like the Mandalorians in general. The fact that Gideon was the one to destroy it kind of sucks, but Grogu making a new Darksaber since he's maybe I if that happens, I would say it wouldn't happen for a very, very long time. Like Grogu would be an adult before he decided that he needed to make another Darksaber, which they don't even know how the first one was made. So it would probably just be a lightsaber made out of Beskar.
Yeah, like I'm into the idea. Like I was okay with the idea of the Darksaber being destroyed, like when you were talking about it, because it has been a symbol of. It's weird. It's like it walks both worlds. The Darksaber was created as a symbol of unity in many ways because Tar Vizsla was the first Mandalorian Jedi. So a Mandalorian Jedi lightsaber, I think, is a good symbol of like, hey, we can all get along. Mandalorians and Jedi used to be enemies, but now we're not. But then the Vizslas came in and took it and used it as a symbol of power and control. And then it kind of became a symbol of division for Mandalorian people. So I would have been okay if they treated it more as a symbol of unity instead of division. But I'm okay that it got destroyed. I don't like that, like you said, I don't like that Moff Gideon was the one to do it because the Darksaber throughout season 2 and 3 had a hold over Bo Katan. Like
Mm-hmm.
she believed up until last week, she was like, I'm afraid I won't be able to lead without this. Until Din said, I don't follow you because you hold some sword. It's because you live with honor and you have strength of character and all that, which I love. So it would have been great if Bo Katan decided, you know what? We as Mandalorians don't need this anymore. I'm gonna put it over here. We'll put it
Mm-hmm.
in a museum or something, or destroy it, whatever.
It belongs in a museum.
But the fact that Moff Gideon like took that choice from her, for story purposes, I'm like, the Darksaber means nothing to Gideon other than he just kind of wants it. Like he crushed it and threw it away and didn't care. It just would have felt better, I think, mythologically speaking, if Bo Katan had said, "We don't need this," and destroyed it. So
Yeah. I
that
think
that bugged me.
maybe it's one of those things where none of the Mandalorians had the balls to destroy it. Like you said, they would have been like, do we want to destroy it? Maybe we just put it away for a bit. Like maybe it had to be someone like Gideon to take that choice away from them and just do it and get it over with.
No, I just don't like that.
Yeah. But
What?
as far as go ahead.
Oh no, it's just it would have felt better for Bo Katan to have conquered. Like the only reason you say that no one had the balls to destroy it is because the story dictated it. Bo Katan could have said, "Hey, Mandalorians, I'm going to toss this into the Great Forge and it's going to melt and go away. We don't need it.
That would
And
have
everyone could have done their little applause.
that would have pissed a lot of people off though, because you remember what happened when Luke threw the lightsaber? Didn't like that.
Whatever. Like that.
I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't think people would have been happy about it being done that way.
I mean, well, okay, well, I'm not happy about how it was done now. So
Well,
Star
that's
Wars
the
can't win, is
yeah,
what we're trying to say.
that's the burden we bear.
hmm And I'm not really upset about it or anything. It's just like, I think this could have been executed better. If you wanted to remove the Darksaber, you could have let someone who it meant something to destroy it
Mhm.
instead of Gideon just be like, meh, got it.
Yeah, and I'll say one more thing about this particular idea. Luke presented Grogu with a choice. You take the lightsaber and you continue your training as a Jedi. You take the shirt, you go be with Din and be a Mandalorian. So I don't think in Grogu's mind this is an option.
Maybe not.
And it might, down the road sometime, like I said, when when he's much older, he might be able to make his own choice and be like, you know what, I want a weapon that feels right to me and it could be this. But for the time being, like, I don't think anyone is thinking little Grogu needs a sword and it'll be the new Darksaber and he'll unite all of Mandalore once more, because they don't need it anymore.
Yeah. I'm with you. I kind of like the idea of that happening down the line, but it's not something I think is going to happen anytime soon. So let's move on to Lynn Koyo. Thank you for the next super chat. I feel like this finale suffered the same way the Bad Batch season 1 finale did for being split into 2 eps 1 week apart. If they released both eps together, it would have been better received. Watching them back to back feels way more natural. I think I agree.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think definitely for Bad Batch, this one, a lot of people have pointed out what some of the actors have said in interviews about how the finale was heartbreaking and hurt a lot and like this and that and the other. And it made me think that the original idea for the finale was going to be the story that we saw in the last episode and this one, but the way it got edited, they had to split it up somewhere. And so I feel like some of the actors maybe thought that Paz was going to die in the finale, and that's what they were referring to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But sometimes stuff like this gets edited weird, and yeah, you think this would have worked better combined. But that's the case for all of Obi-Wan. So
yeah. And the fact that it just starts with Bo-Katan and Casca and everyone, they're running. You're like, oh, okay, we are really picking up right where we were a week ago, which is expected. But I think I agree that it would have worked really well, would have worked better if it were just coming off of the heels of the last hour that we saw. Because I think episode 7 of this season is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. I thought it was awesome. So I don't know. I haven't watched them back to back yet. I'll be interested to see how that changes my viewing experience.
Things like this, shows in general, I think always work better when you watch them, when you can like binge the whole season together and you don't have to wait a week in between each one, and that during that period of a week your mind is just racing with all the possibilities. It all makes more sense when you can watch them back to back.
Yeah. I will point out in my review though that I talked about the Flash Gordon inspirations and the idea that each episode ends with some insane cliffhanger that is very quickly resolved in the next episode. It's like, I didn't grow up with Flash Gordon, but I did watch a lot of the Batman 60s series growing up. Every episode was like that, where they would show Batman or Robin in some huge peril. They'd be like, "Oh, how's Batman gonna get off of this gangplank that's over a bunch of crocodiles?" And then Robin
Mhm.
just opens the door in the very next episode, and he's like, "Batman, what are you doing? Come on!" Like
Yeah.
that's just how serialized storytelling used to be. So it feels different watching it now in like today's television climate, but I'm like, okay, I see what you're going for, at least to have Din captured and then like boom, he's rescued.
Yeah. And everyone was saying how excited they were that the roles were kind of reversed and like Grogu would be the one to go and save Din this time.
Uh-huh.
Uh and like yeah, that happened, but we just didn't have time to really spend too much of the episode focused on that, and also we needed to like make it clear that Din is still the main character of the show. I know a lot of people have been like, Bo-Katan's the main character now. Which is just not true. Like they were just like working together. But like the finale obviously showed like who the show is about ultimately.
Yeah. I get like I sympathize with people who felt that, because I kind of felt that and I'm not mad about it. I love Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff.
No,
So
no, no. I'm talking about the people who were mad that
yeah,
like,
I know.
oh, Bo-Katan took the Mando show away from Din
Right. But
the
I
way
do
that women
think
do.
yeah, always trying to take things. Uh, can't believe you got back onto my show.
This is my
I
show.
tried to get you out for a week. Oh, now you're on the.
Oh,
That's
how do
gonna
I
bug
fix
me.
this? There we go.
What was I gonna say? Oh, like I do think that Din and Grogu, like to me, they are the combined main characters of the show. Like it's about them, but
Mhm.
I feel like their relationship took a back seat this season. So I do kind of understand when people are like, Something just feels different about season three." And
I mean, the whole
I,
thing was kind of a mess, but yeah.
yeah, and like adding Bo-Katan in, I think changes the dynamic. But I did love like the fact that Grogu was sitting in Bo-Katan's lap, that you loved it in season or episode 7. The
Yeah.
fact that like the three of them fought together, I still do think Grogu is like the heart of this show. And seeing uh Grogu even learning things from Bo-Katan, or at least I'm going to choose that little knee slide, was him learning from Bo-Katan, because that
Yeah.
was sick. I'm like obsessed with that moment. He does that little knee slide and tiny little
Mhm.
force push. I'm like, that's the best.
Yeah, and like we've mentioned earlier, if part of the reason why this season went the way that it did is because Pedro Pascal was just too busy being awesome and doing other shows, that like he didn't have the time to do any like face reveal stuff
Maybe, I don't
for
know.
this. I don't know that that's true, but it does make sense that Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff, has plenty of time to be on screen and be awesome. Like, this is one of the best castings ever in Star Wars. It just makes so much sense. And Katie Sackhoff is amazing. Like, we've been huge fans of her since Battlestar. So like I am happy to see her like front and center in this show, because it's like such a perfect cast and she's doing like such an awesome job as her.
Yeah, I fully agree. She kicked ass the whole season. I I am excited to get back to potentially season 4 being like Din and Grogu hopping around doing adventures, and yeah, like sometimes Bo-Katan will be there and sometimes Ahsoka will pop in or something.
Mhm.
Like season 2 I think is right now my favorite season of the show. So that's kind of like, if we can keep that vibe of adventure of the week mixed with an overall story plot, we're golden. But if we get to the end of this series and I look back and I'm like, man, the Bo-Katan season of this show really was cool. Like, I'll be grateful that we got a Bo-Katan season, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
James Clancy has the next super chat. Thank you, James. I liked this season of The Mandalorian. In fact, I thought it was great, but it just wasn't as good as previous seasons. I think bringing Grogu back before the season even started was the wrong decision in retrospect. I forgot all about that. So just to put my own kind of whining in perspective, that was something that I thought about early on in the season, where I didn't really like that choice to have it happen in the Book of Boba Fett, but I'm over that.
Yeah. Like I said, if a lot of this was because of Pedro's schedule, uh, and the fact that they had to fill time with a show like Book of Boba Fett, which, don't get me wrong, I love that show and what they did with Boba Fett's character. But like, it just seems like all this stuff got really, really jumbled and they had to rework everything. And it was just kind of a mess. And I hope going forward, it won't feel like that, because with all that stuff happening in Book of Boba Fett and Rangers of the New Republic getting scrapped, now Din is the Ranger of the New Republic. So like they fixed that.
What did Triad of the Force say? The independent contractor of the New
Yeah,
Republic.
they Triad tweeted the title card of Rangers of the New Republic, and it was all scribbled out on Rangers, and it said independent contractors of the New Republic. So yeah, it did feel like they had to clean up a bunch of stuff, but I guess they did it in the best way that they could,
I don't like what we have no idea why Pedro didn't show his face this time. I was speculating that he was shooting The Last of Us and was just busy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Stormtrooper Gary, thank you for the next one. Force-sensitive clones eventually do happen with Snoke and Palpatine. Do you think Palpatine uses Gideon's research, or just a coincidence they're both trying to transfer Force sensitivity to clones? That'd be interesting. Well, first of all, I don't really think Gideon was successful.
We don't know.
We don't know, and we might not ever know.
Yeah. I like the idea that this has always been a project for Palpatine's purposes, and Gideon borrowed this research for his own selfish reasons, because that tracks with everything else he's done selfishly. So
I think you're probably right there. Pershing was probably used for Project Necromancer, which I'm going to assume is Palpatine and or Snoke. But then, yeah, Gideon stole Pershing and kept him for his own cloning experiments. But I just don't think that's how the Force works. Gideon claims to have cracked the code or whatever. He's like, my clones would have worked. I'm like, you don't know. And so my own headcanon is nah dog.
Nah, dog. That ain't it.
I don't think so.
It's a no for me. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think he had so much confidence in the clones, but obviously they weren't finished bacon yet. Like, we'll never know if they were successful or not, but probably not. And if they were, Palpatine would have found out and put an end to that real fast, I think. Like, if he knew Gideon had made clones of himself that had the Force, he would have been like,
I do think he would have stolen the research and also shut it down, which, yeah. I don't dislike the idea that Gideon could have inadvertently helped Palpatine return. I don't think that was his intent. And I just don't think that's how the Force works.
Probably not. I could just imagine Grogu rolling his little eyes at Gideon saying that his clones had the Force.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
sure, buddy. Darth Nicholas, thank you for the next super chat. A little unrelated, but do you think the Bad Batch season 3 will further explore the process of transferring midichlorians / force sensitivity to clones? I
It
think it
could.
could.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how much time they'll spend on that in itself because it's not important to the Bad Batch's story to go into the details of this, of transferring midichlorians and force sensitivity. It's not important to what they're doing, unless for whatever reason Omega turns out to be force sensitive or something.
I think it could be like tangential to the story, where the Bad Batch is going to be primarily concerned with rescuing Omega and Crosshair and Tech, who's also stuck at Mount Tantus after he is recovered and all that.
Mhm.
Of course. So I think we might learn more about it almost on accident. Like they could tie it into the larger story, but I don't, like Molly said, I don't think it'll be the focus of the season or series.
Probably not.
Meg Brennan, thank you for the next super chat. Not the best episode, but worth it just to see R5 fight mouse droids.
Yeah.
We did talk
Yeah.
about that. Love it. One of my favorite parts of the episode. Very funny.
Usually I know when an episode is a banger because I have trouble picking a still shot for the thumbnail of our reactions. Today's episode, I was like, we didn't have any like super big reactions to anything. Maybe we should have, but I
Nothing was
think
really shocking.
I think the picture that I ended up going with was from when IG-11 comes back in the end, and I was just so excited that he was back to be the marshal. I was like, yay! Yeah, it was, like you said, not the best, but
This episode was full of stuff that I liked. It had great shots, great moments. I'm never not gonna like watching Mandalorians drop out of their gauntlets. I think that's just something that I'm gonna clap for every single time it happens.
I will have, maybe this is a hot take, but I'm good if we don't see the Mandalorians flying around with their jetpacks for a bit, because it just looks like they're on wires. And I told you this earlier, it reminds me of that scene from Santa Claus where the elves with jetpacks fly, like take off. I'm just like, we've had enough
It
for
does
now.
sometimes. I think I agree with you that like today we got a lot of it. I liked it all. I thought they did a ton of creative stuff. I mean, just seeing that shot of Bo-Katan pull out the Darksaber and then the armor with her hammer, like these two leaders.
Oh my god, don't get me started on her and her hammers.
I loved that. That was great. Like these two leaders taking their army, their combined army in to fight this invading force. That was great. It was a lot of jetpacks and a lot of just like CG people flying around, but I thought they did enough creative, cool stuff that it all worked, and it looks way better than it did in season 1.
It
So
just,
yeah,
yeah.
Molly, hot take confirmed.
Look, every once in a while I have hot takes and it's exciting for me.
Well, let's just see if I
Because
have you on as a guest again.
usually my takes are pretty mild. So, but a lot of it felt like just people. I mean, Favreau literally has said, "I want this show to feel like you're playing with your action figures." Well, this one felt like someone was like, and then they're like, psh, and then they're like, psh, and then they're like, psh.
That's what fight scenes are, though. Like action scenes, that's what they are.
I'm happy to take a little break from all that.
I did. I'll say I thought it was a lot like the Water War arc of the Clone Wars, except in the air. But
Yeah.
like just a lot of action that's hard to follow. But I think they did a good job of really focusing in on Bo-Katan or the armor or Casca Reeves. Casca Reeves had this cool thing where she like landed on a landing platform and slid across it and dropped beneath it and shot the stormtrooper. Like, that was cool. Just cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm just like, I'm a little over it.
Molly's over flight. Molly is over the power of flight. You heard it here first. All right. Well, when they come out with jetpacks, I'm not buying you one. I'll get one for me, and that's it.
Oh, the hammer thing. Where did I see that? Oh, no, not that. Loved the armorer. #hammer time. The more she used that as a weapon, the more I was like, okay, that's just not practical. Does she not have any blasters? She just insists on using the hammer as her weapon.
That would have been a funny scene to see of like, hey, do you want like Paz Vizsla's gun or something? She's like, no, I have my hammer. Like, okay.
She heard Gideon say that bit about Mandos and their trinkets, and she's like, you call this a trinket? Hammer.
I like the hammer. She knows how to use it. She's never once failed with it.
Well, she almost failed with that giant creature that attacked them on the beach. Like, she got her butt whooped. Yeah. Because she was trying to fight with a hammer. Where's that going to get you? Anyways.
Well, Amaranth Pan, thank you for the next super chat. Just wanted to say thanks, and I hope Molly is better. I loved this episode in specific and this season in general. It feels like the lens has widened each season, which makes for good storytelling. I do agree with that. I think that the world is continuing to expand. It's very similar to the way the animated series have been structured, especially something like Rebels or Resistance, where it opens up wider and wider every season.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, like, this whole show started so small and centralized, and now, you know, we've brought all these Mandalorians into the mix, and they've all worked together to retake Mandalore. Like, this is so much bigger than just Din and Grogu's story, and we should consider ourselves lucky as fans that we're getting to see all this cool Mandalorian stuff in live action in this show.
I am like this series has continued to show me things that I just didn't think I'd ever get to see. I think personally, I wouldn't mind a bit more balance between the wide scope of like the entirety of Mandalorian culture and also just Din and Grogu. As Molly called them earlier, Space Cowboy and his magic baby.
Yeah.
Which is accurate. Like that's why I fell in love with the series. And that part, I feel like I missed part of that this season.
Yeah. And if we can get more of Pedro in the next season, that would be great. Because I think that was probably what was missing, is just, I don't know, like him in the helmet talking to Grogu, like all the quiet moments that they've had, I'm just like, take the helmet off.
That's if we're just going back to the helmet rule and the Children of the Watch, I completely agree that I was hoping this season would be about him moving past that, especially now that the Children of the Watch seem to be like, okay, you don't have to keep your helmet on. But Din's like, I'm still gonna though. I'm like,
can you imagine if he sounded like that?
he took his helmet off to make a connection with his son in season 2. And he's like, well, I'm never doing that again. Like, really? So now they're like, I feel like we had a moment for him to take his helmet off this season and it didn't happen. And I'm like, well, now we have to find a big reason for him to do it in season 4 or 5 or whatever. And just like, it seems like you could have done it here and solved that problem. Even if he still kept it on for most of the time, he could just occasionally take it off.
Yeah.
But Wind has the next super chat. Thank you. I loved seeing Grogu use his power not to end life, but to protect it. Love that. He could have crushed Gideon, but he reserved his strength to save his family. That's a really good point. I like that.
Yeah.
We talked about this when we were walking Hilo, but the fact that Grogu used the Force for defense, he force pushed Praetorian guards and stuff, but they were attacking his father,
Hmm.
and so many times he just pushed weapons away. He did it to the guards. He did it to Gideon. But I love that you point out him reserving his strength to save his family. That you're right. He could have done much worse to Gideon, but we did see that like the Force still takes a toll on him. He had to have a little sit down after all the fire stuff, and Grogu had the forethought to conserve his energy for the people that were close to him. I love that.
Yeah. And he was using all the lessons that he learned from Luke, and I bet that was one of them. Like, conserve your energy. Don't use it all in one spot, you know. And yeah, I loved that he only was using the Force for defensive purposes. Because after that episode where Din is trying to get him to use those little darts, I was like, that's not it. I don't love this. And even Grogu had that look of like, really, man, I don't want to do this.
I mean, you showed me that TikTok of it's a sound where a little
This
baby is
is
going,
BS.
"This is BS," but she doesn't say that. But like they put that sound over Grogu, which is he's looking up to Din like, "Why are you making me do this?"
Yeah. On that
Yeah, I love
note,
that.
I'm going to bring up my drawing.
Oh my god, I didn't do one.
You didn't do
No,
one?
we've been busy.
I told you to take a break. And what did you do? You went downstairs and played video games for
That's a
like 20
break.
minutes.
That is a break.
You were too busy. You were too busy before that to think about the drawings.
That is a
Anyways,
break.
so I had a lot of favorite moments in this episode, but one of my all-time favorites is it happened very quick, and you really wouldn't, you might not catch it unless you had the subtitles on, where it says Grogu laughs. And it's when he's messing with the Praetorian guards. And he literally, like in the subtitles, it says Grogu laughs. And I just thought that was hilarious, that he is having the time of his life up there messing with them to the point where he's laughing at them. So yeah, that's my drawing. What would you have drawn?
Probably
Had you,
Grogu.
been a good host.
Grogu taking the fire and like pushing it away, saving his family. Either that or R5 and the mouse bots. Or if I were to do the thing where I just take a scene and then add a comedic twist to it, probably the armor with like a bunch of adoption papers for Din. Or maybe what now I'm just throwing out a bunch of ideas. Maybe what court mandated adventures look like. I will share a meme that I made. Can I do that?
You made a meme?
Yeah.
Ah!
I was going to tweet that at some point.
You've been so excited for Jedi Survivor that I don't think this is going to affect you much.
Oh, the smile on Jason Momoa's face is accurate. Like,
yeah. Yeah, you should definitely tweet that.
I will. I was going to save it.
Is there a little ad that we need to run?
There is, which is good timing because I have to run to the restroom. But yeah, we're going to play an ad from our sponsor real quick. We will be right back. Today's video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. A VPN, or virtual private network, creates a secure tunnel between your device and the internet. Browsing online using your PC, phone, laptop, tablet, or any device sends out countless pieces of information into the digital world. That's why, even when I'm at home, I make sure I have ExpressVPN running. ExpressVPN is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers so your internet service provider can't see the sites you visit. It doesn't matter who your internet service provider there is, ISPs in the US can legally sell your information to ad companies. ExpressVPN keeps all of your information secure by encrypting 100% of your data with the most powerful encryption available. It's available on all your devices and runs seamlessly in the background, and it's easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're protected. Protect your online activity today with the VPN rated #1 by Business Insider. Visit my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/explained, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/explained. expressvpn.com/explained to learn more.
Yay. While Alex is gone, I will take this opportunity to show off our giveaway once again from Entertainment Earth. There's a link down in the description. We are giving 2 of these away. So if you guys want this cool little Rebels Bo-Katan statue that has changeable heads, enter the giveaway. Thanks to Entertainment Earth for sending us those. That's awesome.
Thank you indeed.
You feel better?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Because we have a lot more questions.
Well, let's go. I see 66 left, which is a good Star Wars number. A bad Star Wars number, really. But Darth Nicholas has the next one. Thank you. I never thought Gideon's clones would make the Knights of Ren look like worthy adversaries. I was hoping his clones would be used in some limited capacity instead of just soaking it up while Din effortlessly dismantled them. Yeah. Like they built up to it for 3 years and it just kind of amounted to nothing.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think they were going to all be clones of Gideon.
I didn't either, really, until it happened. It's like we definitely speculated on the potential of Gideon cloning himself and trying to give himself force sensitivity. But the way it went down, it was just kind of like, oh, that is what they're doing. Oh, they're dead. Okay.
Yeah, I did see a lot of people saying that like that whole thing went out with kind of a fizzle.
Mm-hmm.
But like it kind of had to, right? Like we couldn't have just
like that. That's just another thing that I'm like, was this always part of the plan, or are they shifting things? Like it felt like in season 2, and I'm just saying that it felt like, so who, that means nothing, but it seemed like season 2 was more building to the Empire is doing experiments for Snoke and Palpatine and whatever, and they are, I would assume that's what Project Necromancer is, but the fact that those clones were just leading to Gideon clones that then all died unceremoniously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen a lot of people say that the mustache was missing or that his facial hair was different. I mean, Bo-Katan's hair was longer. Big whoop. I don't think that means that who we saw was a clone.
Oh, no. I don't think Gideon was meant to be a clone.
No. I don't think so.
I thought they meant it was sus, like in a... I kind of wonder if he was filming something else and had to come in to shoot The Mandalorian. I'm like thinking behind the scenes, which is honestly probably more of the crackpot, don't think about that stuff thing.
Yeah. I'm fine that the clones didn't really get much screen time, because I'm just like that. It would have been so much more complicated had they survived.
I don't know. It just seemed like a, oh, okay, resolution to it all.
Yeah.
Like you said, just kind of fizzled out.
Right.
Lord Haas, thank you for the next one. Says he did a Kanan.
Oh.
Not quite, because Grogu survived.
Yeah.
So really, I think we should call that a Grogu.
Yeah. Kanan was dealing with a lot of other stuff, and maybe the explosion was a lot bigger. I don't know. I have seen people on Twitter say that like, well, why did Kanan have to die doing that and Grogu didn't?
Well, okay, if you want to get into that, Kanan was far away from everyone else. Like you said, he was containing an entire like fuel tank exploding. He was like holding it together and then pushed his family who was like over there. He pushed them away so that the
Mhm.
explosion wouldn't get him. I would say it's completely different scenarios really, other than they were holding fire at bay. But I think what I think what Kanan did was more impressive.
Yeah. But
Uh,
everything Grogu does is impressive, so
yeah, sure. Well, he's just a baby.
I'm just a baby.
Quico, thank you for the next one. Thank you, Molly, for your tweet about the biblical reference for last week's episode title, "The Spies with 12 Members of the Scouting Party," it seems.
Yes,
When did you tweet about that?
you're all welcome for my theory on
When did you
how
tweet
that
about it?
was. It was
Oh,
like
Molly.
it was in a reply
Oh, okay.
to, I think, something Lauren tweeted at me. I basically just said, yeah, I've seen this theory floating around too, and I don't know anything
Mhm.
about the Bible, but here's this.
Molly stealing theories. I can't believe I brought a theory stealer onto the channel.
Look, no theory is original.
Well, that's the video on Friday is going to be about that theory. But I credit the people who told me. That's what I say. I'm a good person.
Well, you told me
Did you credit me in
originally.
that tweet?
I don't have to. You can't make me.
Calm like a bomb, aka 12th Dragon. Thank you for the next one. So Jaren is his name, and Din is his family name. Different groups of Mandos order their names differently. Molly, you take this one.
This is another very messy, like, I don't get it aspect of this episode. Why? Why is it Din Grogu and not Grogu Jaren? When, and to be fair, I've seen people say that like the surnames work this way in other countries all the time, but Bo-Katan Kryze, Pre and Paz Vizsla, like, because this is seemingly the first of its kind in this situation where the names are switched, I'm like, why? Why Din Grogu? Why? I'm not calling him that.
That's what I wanted you to get to, is because the first time they ever said his name in season 2, they were like, his name is Ahsoka goes, his name is Grogu. Molly immediately was like, I'm not calling him that. Which of course now you have accepted it. And now that they've added another additional piece to his name, your immediate response was, I'm not calling him that.
I will call him Grogu, and that is it.
I think that's probably what they're going to stick with. I don't know. But I mean, Grief called him Din Grogu. I don't really care. I think I'm going to stick with Grogu personally.
In a very like official kind of way, like ceremoniously, I think he called him that. But he's always going to refer to him as the baby because that's just how he is.
I think I like that Grief had a little mini arc of caring about Grogu's name, because in the first episode, Din's like, his name is Grogu, and he says, whatever you say.
Sure.
I kind of liked that.
He still calls Din Mando, even though now he knows tons of Mandalorians. It's like people still call him Mando because like
he's like Mando, and 28 people turn their heads like, what?
Yeah.
Darth Nicholas, thank you for another super chat. Rip to all the Moff-Chlorians. Yep.
Moff-Chlorians.
They gone.
They gone. I'm glad they're gone.
Me too.
It's just like they're gone. Gideon is gone. I want every trace of Gideon to be gone after this. I'm done with him.
That's what, like, I love Gideon as a character. Giancarlo Esposito is great, but I don't want them to keep like, oh, he's been arrested. Oh, a ship crashed on him. Oh, but he keeps coming back. It's like,
no, if he comes back after this, I will be pissed. We've had enough of him.
See, like, I don't think we technically have. I
Well,
think that I wish he had more screen time, but
I get
if they're gonna
that.
keep if they're gonna keep doing this, then just make a decision and stick with it.
I get that you wished he had more actual screen time, and the fact that he got saved off camera and came back and like put together this whole facility on Mandalore, blah blah blah. Like all this stuff happened off camera and kind of suddenly. But like just the fact that he's still around, he's still the big bad after the end of the last season. I'm just like, all right, that's too many seasons of Gideon. He's done. You're done.
I think he could have been around for longer, but just the continual the two times of like we got him. Oh, he escaped. We got him again. If he comes back, it'll just feel like okay, stop.
Stop.
Gamer Tomo, thank you for the next one. Why do you think there wasn't an end credit scene?
I
I
mean
don't know that they need one.
it didn't need one. I think a lot of people, including us, thought there would be one because there have been in the past, but I think like we've been talking about this season has felt like kind of a reset. It ended happily for everyone but Gideon, I guess. Like we've reached this like happy point where we can just say this is the end of this season. We're not going to tease the next season because we want all the focus going forward to be on Ahsoka. Which I guess they could have done a post-credit scene with Ahsoka in it, having to do with Thrawn and all that. But like, we just got an Ahsoka trailer at Celebration. We just got a little tease of Thrawn, so I think it's fine that we didn't get anything because we just got all that Ahsoka stuff.
I think the Book of Boba Fett was kind of a special circumstance because it was kind of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Like it was and it wasn't. It was just taking that spot. So I think they wanted to put that in season 2 of The Mandalorian just to be like, hey, for real though, the Book of Boba Fett is going to be important to the story of The Mandalorian. Ahsoka is going to be connected to it, but I doubt there's going to be 1.5 episodes where Din is the main character.
Right.
Eric Bruno, thank you for the next super chat. That was a great series finale. Yay.
Series finale.
Oh, series finale. Oh, I didn't even read that. I mean, it did seem
Which
like it could have been.
is actually funny because that's what they call them in other countries. Like
Oh, that's true too.
we've been watching Taskmaster and they always say excuse me, series finale at the end of every season. So
Right.
I don't know if that is what they meant or if they're because a lot of people have said that this felt like a series finale.
Yeah, I got that vibe as well, that it's like if it ended, everything is wrapped up. It was wrapped up quickly, but I could see it. But John Favreau's already said, like, I've written season 4, so I
Yeah.
think we're far from the end of this story.
I,
And
like
I want to see those court mandated adventures. I'm into that.
yeah, like we said, this is a bit of a reset, but in no way is this going to be the end of the Mandalorian.
Yeah. Myriad Media Musings, thank you for the next one. Hey guys, hope you're good and Molly is okay. Are you okay?
I'm doing okay. I'm still like working through this like scratchy throat stuff, which I don't know if that's COVID related or it could just be the insane amount of pollen that is
It's hard to
floating
tell in
in
Georgia.
the air right now. It's so gross.
Dragonus Prime, thank you for the next super chat. It's you, dude. This ending feels like a back to basics setup. Season 1 set up the Darksaber. Season 2 was the bigger Mandalorian story. Season 3 is just Din and Grogu, as in the setup for season 4. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and honestly, I welcome it. Like, I still want I kind of want them to go back to season 2, where it's a little bit of both. We got
Yeah.
a larger story to tell, but also every week is just kind of like whatever Din and Grogu want to get up to.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, going forward, I'm kind of like, we know we're headed to Thrawn being the big bad. What does Thrawn care about Mandalore and the
Mm,
Mandalorians retaking Mandalore? Like that is
yeah.
gonna be what matters going forward.
Which I do think it does matter. We were talking about this on our walk, but the Imperial Council, the Shadow Council last week, I think Pelion straight up said, "Oh, if they retake Mandalore, that will impede our efforts. That will be a problem." So everything that just happened, I do think is going to play into that larger, whatever Thrawn focused narrative.
Yeah. Which I'm like, what other efforts do they have that include Mandalore? Because obviously Gideon was there. I assume his clones were a secret because he said to Hux, to
Yeah,
Brindle Hux, that like, oh, cloning is your obsession. It's not my thing. But obviously it was. So I'm curious what else the Empire, unless it's just the Beskar alloy, which would make sense that that is a pretty important thing that the Empire would be interested in.
it could have been a place that Thrawn wanted to use as a staging area, since
Yeah.
everyone thought like, oh, the planet's dead, so no one would be there. But I don't like. I do think it will tie into things. So
Yeah.
I'll look forward to seeing that. Darth Nicholas, thank you for another super chat. We were this close to getting the Gidichlorian.
Get a Chlorian. Love it.
Donnie Rand, thank you for the next one. To compare this show to The Hobbit, I wonder if season 4 may have a Battle of Five Armies scenario now that the dragon is slain and other factions are after the gold. Hmm.
Mm. I
I,
mean, I
I
feel like the Battle of Five Armies scenario is going to be Filoni's movie.
maybe. Well, I think they might be talking about in the Battle of Five Armies. At first, it's like elves and dwarves and men, and they're all fighting over the same thing. And it's like, all of you are supposed to be friends. Don't fight. And then the orcs and the wargs or the eagles or whoever you consider to be the fifth army, that's still like up in the air. But then goblins come. So I hope I hope the Mandalorians are done fighting amongst themselves. I kind of think season 3 was the end of that. So hopefully, because there are more Mandalorians out there, it's not like these two groups were all that was left. I hope that's not the case. So I could see Mandalore continue to grow, but I hope they're not fighting.
Yeah. I want the soundboard of Grogu saying no, 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 no.
I'm sure we can find that. James Clancy, thank you for the next one. It's funny in retrospect, the Bad Batch was way better than Mando 3. I like Mando, but it just kind of fell flat. It goes to show you shouldn't discredit animation.
No, you should
You
not.
absolutely should not. Which
Bad
one?
Batch.
We don't like rank things here a whole lot, but what did you prefer? Did you prefer Bad Batch over Mando season 3?
I think storytelling wise, yes. Everything else, I'm always, I think, gonna
You're gonna pick
prefer
Grogu.
Mando because Grogu and Bo-Katan, the Darksaber, like those things are like so big in Star Wars. Like, I don't know, it emotionally takes up more space in my
Mm-hmm.
heart than I guess the story of Bad Batch. But I think so far the writing and execution of the Bad Batch has been, yeah, better than most of, if not all, the live action stuff.
Oh, really? Wow.
Okay,
I don't know.
excluding Andor, because that's like its own beast that is very new to Star Wars.
Like I think I'd put them about on equal ground, which is such a cop out, but that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I think I was more emotionally affected by the Bad Batch finale than I was the Mando finale, but it had the benefit of 2 episodes back to back. I don't know.
I cried at the tech stuff, and I cried again when everybody was talking about it at the panel. So like that tells me that I am more attached to that story than this. I didn't cry when Paz died. I didn't cry at anything in this episode.
I started to get a little misty when Grogu saved them all. Grogu still, despite I think having taken a bit of a backseat this season, still had some of my favorite moments of the season. Him stopping the fight in episode 7, him saving Din and Bo-Katan from the fire in this episode, I thought were great.
Yeah.
Nate Carlson, thank you for the next one. Loved lots here, but a few major character beats this season felt underdeveloped. Have we been spoiled by Andor's granular, character-driven approach? This is something else we talked about on our walk that I don't think that, like, I remember early on, especially in season 3 of Mando, people being like, "Oh, Andor just ruined Star Wars for me," and like I do not feel that way at all because they are very different flavors. But I do think that Andor really took a close look at what they wanted to say and said it clearly. And I did not feel that this season of The Mandalorian. That I don't think I knew what the central theme of the season was until we got to the end here. And even then I'm like, it's a pretty basic theme of just like a united community is stronger together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I do think part of it is us being spoiled at what we've been given so far in Andor season 1. But even, and I said this earlier to you, Alex, like Tony Gilroy has talked about this in interviews and stuff. Like he has said that making Andor great has been easy for him because they know where this is headed. They have an end in sight.
Yeah.
So just for him just having to fill in that gap, he's able to like really dive into things deeper and get into the characters more deeply and like tell maybe a richer story. With Mando, they don't necessarily have an end in mind. They can change stuff on a dime if they want to. They might have a very general end now because
Yeah.
Filoni's working on his movie, but before now, it seems like they didn't really know where they were going. So I
I
think it's easy to look at Andor and say, "Wow, it's so great. The writing is so great," and give it all of its well-deserved compliments. But you have to remember that like they know exactly where they're headed. All they have to do is fill in those gaps.
Yeah. I think that is an excellent point. That when you know exactly what the ending, when you know how your main character dies and why, and then you're working backwards, I think that's a huge help. And I remember Tony Gilroy saying that, and I think that was good of him to say.
Which is why the prequels work.
Yeah.
They
I
just
mean,
were filling in gaps.
yeah, I think that George Lucas knew, yeah, obviously where Anakin's story would end, and also had a very clear idea of what he wanted to say politically and thematically with Anakin. And to get back to like the Andor stuff, I view them as two totally separate shows. Where like, and Andor's not a show I think I would describe as fun to watch. Like It's so intense. Uh, it would be like something I don't want to say you had to endure, but it was just
Mhm.
like, oh man, I loved watching it, but also it wasn't just a sit down good time fun show like The Mandalorian is. They're just two
Yeah.
different flavors.
There's no space cowboy and magic baby in Andor,
Where's
period.
the magic
Like
baby, Andor?
it's I think KL put it nicely. Mando is a space fantasy, Andor is a war drama.
Yeah. I, I think Andor, I think part of the reason it was something you had to endure is because it felt more real. And Mando really goes mythological and big with its themes, and also tries to have a lot of fun at the same time,
Mhm.
which I like. I still love this flavor of Star Wars.
Yeah, and if we're talking what classically Star Wars is, Mando is more classically Star Wars. It has
Mhm.
that more Star Warsy original trilogy feel to it. Andor is very different than anything we've been given thus far, but
Agreed.
in a good way. Like, oh, we didn't know that there was potential for something like this in Star Wars until now, and now we just like want more of it.
Yeah. I was gonna see if I could pull up just one frame that I keep on thinking about. Okay, we're talking about like space fantasy and like I just love that shot of just like a bunch of people flying and one of them has a sword out and it's just freaking cool. Like I loved that shot when it happened, and that's not something you're going to see in Andor. So
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of Clone Wars and Rebels, a shot like that, and just getting a shot like that in live action is like we're getting spoiled.
yeah, so cool. Where are we? Eric Bruno has the next one. Thank you, Eric. So, to get this straight, Axe had enough fuel to make it from the surface to the cruiser and even a bit left over to escape, but Paz didn't have enough fuel to chase down the bird. Well, we don't know how
Well,
far away the bird went.
I think that they may have not had their fuel tanks topped up in that moment because none of them were planning on going anywhere at that time.
Yeah, they weren't on a mission. They were just, and who knows if they had the resources to top up their fuel. But
Yeah. I think they were on like half full for that, if even.
but really the answer, like if you're trying to out logic Star Wars, like that's a losing battle.
Don't try.
Sorry. It's
It goes
just the
along with
truth.
like, well, when do we actually need helmets and when do we not need helmets in space?
Uh-huh.
It depends. It depends on the story.
I feel like I say it once a week, but there's a good George Lucas quote where he says, "In my world, there's air in space when I want there to be." Like
Mic drop.
that is George Lucas saying, "The story will do what I want it to do. It will work how I want it to work." He didn't care about the rules.
No. And nor should he.
Sometimes you need a little space mask to go outside. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Bakey, thank you for the next one. I'd like to see a Godfather-esque scene where Thrawn assassinates a bunch of Imperials that are disloyal to him and trying to seize power. Uh, I was kind of hoping that Thrawn would swoop in to knock out Gideon this week.
Really?
Yeah,
Mm.
I thought that would have been a cool way to bring him in, as if Gideon got too big for his britches and Thrawn just swooped in, shut him down.
It feels like such a waste of Thrawn's time to have to go and do
Okay,
that.
send Pelion.
Yeah. Also, maybe it's just me, but I don't really see Thrawn as the type that wants to have a Godfather-esque scene where he assassinates people who are disloyal to him. I think Thrawn is smart enough to be like, they'll kill each other eventually because they're all dumb.
He could maneuver them into that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, like he's gonna use them for his advantages as much as he can, and otherwise, like, why would he take the time to assassinate them when he probably knows that they'll meet their demise on their own terms?
Thrawn tends to be, not always, but he tends to be someone who will not just kill indiscriminately.
Mhm.
I remember, I think, one kill in Heir to the Empire that he orders of an Imperial, but for the most part, he's like, if I can use you, even if you're kind of stupid, uh, I'm going to use you. Like, he
Mhm.
doesn't throw away assets. But if it's a bunch of people who are not acting like assets anymore, then he might do that.
It's like having extra pawns in his chess game.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's gonna move them around until they are taken out by something else.
Hmm. Matt Coles, thank you for the next one. Majorly off topic, but after seeing all the love for it as Celebration, I got into the High Republic. I'm halfway through Rising Storm, and oh my god. Oh, you're only halfway through? Well, first of all, this was sent over like an hour and a half ago. But the halfway point of the Rising Storm, like you ain't read
That's
nothing yet, my friend.
that's an intense halfway point.
Yeah. If you're already into the Rising Storm and you're only halfway through it, I've got good news for you.
Yeah,
Good slash terrible news? I don't know.
I haven't gotten to really show off my tattoo much that I got in London. High
Looking
Republic
good.
tattoo. It's still healing.
Miguel Sotelo, thank you for the next one. My 2 cents on the Darksaber. Din made it clear that he and or his people didn't care for it. I feel as an audience, we cared for it more than he did. Yeah, I
That's
mean, I think
fair.
that's fair. Like, Star Wars fans tend to put a lot of value on things that aren't important to the characters, but it was important to Bo-Katan.
I mean, I think that's definitely fair to say that it's important to fans because
Mhm.
look at what the other shows set it up for. Like it was like this big deal in Clone Wars and in Rebels, and like especially in Rebels the way that Sabine treated it and just the importance of it. It did feel kind of cheapened by all of this, but only like momentarily because like I said, I knew from the beginning that the Darksaber couldn't work in this situation and like it needed to go because Bo-Katan was treating it like this, oh, this is the one thing that I need in order to rule and bring
Mhm.
people together. And it's like, no, you just need to work together to rebuild the community, and then and only then will you be able to retake Mandalore in in a way that will sustain going forward. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get that I'm gonna miss the Darksaber because it was cool looking and we never really got to know how it was made or and what made it dark.
Well, that's my issue is not that it was destroyed. Like, I'm not treating it as this precious thing that shouldn't have been messed up. I just don't like that it was Gideon and not Bo-Katan. Maybe I'm not explaining myself well, but I think that
No, it makes sense.
okay, for the story purposes, I think it made more sense for Bo-Katan to say, I don't need this, instead of having someone else just break it
Yeah.
and then her being like, I guess I didn't need that.
Yeah. It would have felt better had it happened in the middle of like a big speech by Bo-Katan in front of everybody so that everyone could see definitively like the Darksaber is not what we need.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean what it used to mean. It's not this one big important thing that will unite us. whoever wins it in a battle isn't going to be the ruler of Mandalore. Like, that's just not how it works anymore.
Yeah.
And it would have been really nice to have her address everybody and say all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing that like we haven't talked about, that you had to take the Darksaber through a fight, and that's just not a unifying mindset for Mandalorians, that like whoever has the most power gets the Darksaber and then gets to lead all of us. No, like that's another rule that needs to be thrown away. So I'm totally cool with the Darksaber being destroyed, put away, whatever. I just think it should have been the Mandalorians to do that and not freaking Gideon.
Yeah.
That's the hill I will die on for this episode, I guess.
I still think that I think you're right. And I am halfway up that hill. But I
You
also
running up
feel
that
like
hill?
running up that hill. I also feel like none of the Mandalorians would have gone through with destroying it, and it would have just been this thing that just kept coming back and kept being too much of a temptation. Kind of like the One Ring. Like it's too tempting for people to not fight over the Darksaber, so it had to be destroyed by someone, by a third party.
Fine.
It had to,
Regular that. Oh,
it was like, well, I don't want to compare Gideon to a hobbit, but like they needed
not at
a
all.
they needed a hobbit to take the ring and get rid of it because no one else had the power to destroy it.
I see what you're trying to get at. Gideon is not a hobbit. He doesn't deserve to be one.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like they needed someone else to take that burden away.
Samwise would never follow Gideon. Regular, thank you for another super chat. Tired, Baby Yoda, Wired, Sir Din Grogu, Jedi Initiate, Apprentice Mandalorian of Clan Mudhorn, and Knight of the Ancient Order of Independent Regencies. He is racking up titles.
Oh my
He really
god,
is.
yes. Please. I need him to be introduced like that, the same way that Khaleesi does her whole spiel every time she is somewhere new.
Grogu needs a herald. And maybe Din will do that. I do think the knighting is going to come back. That feels like a very Mandalorian thing to do, as in the series. That they're gonna do something goofy in one episode, and then 2 seasons from now, they're gonna be like, "We need a knight," and Din will be like, "Boom, here's one."
Yeah. Oh no, I absolutely think that will come back because it's too funny not to come back. The fact that he is knighted.
Cassia Pidgeot. Pipe.
Pipe.
I'm glad I remembered. I remembered too late, but I did remember. Had a good time watching the episode and at Celebration last week. Didn't see you, sadly. Can't watch live now because COVID. Oh, I'm sorry. Have a great stream, all.
Oh,
Thanks, Cassia. Hope you feel better soon.
I know about that COVID now, and I don't like it. So hopefully you have a swift recovery.
Kyle Beckworth, thank you for the next question and great profile picture. I just liked it, but the season as a whole seemed a bit off. Mando adopting Grogu was the highlight of this episode. Axe Woves was the MVP of the ep. Yeah, everyone owes Axe Woves an apology too. Like people started to convince me last week that he might be the spy, and now I feel bad. But that's everyone else's fault for convincing me.
Yeah, I what did I say this in? Oh, I was on POV a couple nights ago, Monday night, and the idea that Axe was the spy with the other spy came up, and I was like, he's too dumb. I think he's too dumb to be a spy in all this.
Well, I say that's rude now because he was smart enough to not drive the cruiser straight into the ground. Because I was over there sad that he was about to die, and then he just blew a window out and flew away, and I was like, oh, that's smart.
Yeah, that would have been so dumb if he just went down with the ship. He wasn't even steering it.
Oh, and here's something else I really love about Axe in this episode. I have to pull up another image for it, but I love that he, at the ceremony, is standing right next to Ragnar. I think that's a nice little touch just because Axe and Paz had such a rivalry. And I don't know if
Mm,
this is true, but in my head canon, Axe Woves is now going to look out for little Ragnar. I think that would be nice.
I think that would be nice too. I mean, I can't wait to see where this goes in the future. I want to see them all continuing to work together. And yeah, I bet Axe feels guilty, or maybe not guilty, but like feels for Ragnar after what Paz did.
I'm sure he respected Paz. So I think that, they butted heads and fought, but I think they respected one another by the end. I liked that. It was fast, but I liked their little mini arc of not friendship, but begrudging acceptance of one another.
Yeah. The fact that they opened up their grievances through a little space chess game,
Uh huh.
I just thought was hilarious. And a lot of people compared it to chess, but because of the way that they went into the argument of like, well, that's not the rule. Well, this is the rule, but that's not the rule. It just made me think of when people have house rules for games like Monopoly.
Yeah.
Like you go to someone's house and you play a game like Monopoly or some other game and they have some weird house rule and you're like, who raised you? What? Why do you think that that's right? Like it's like that happens. And I loved that is how they introduced that aspect of the plot through a game and their and whoever's house rules just made sense.
Matt Lang, thank you for the next super chat. Thoughts on Coruscant this season? I'm a bit confused. It seems like the New Republic capital. In canon, I thought the planet was sorta a mess after Return of the Jedi. Uh, so someone else pointed this out to us back in our episode 3 stream, but in season 2, when we went to the school on Navarro, uh, did they say Chandrilla was the capital? I can't remember. What the droid said, that the capital of the galaxy was not currently Coruscant.
Yeah.
So even though the New Republic capital moved around the galaxy, it was not uh, Coruscant, I'm sure, was always going to be important. So the New Republic is always going to have a presence there, but the capital was not there, I don't think, at this point.
No, I think that they did say that the capital was Chandrilla. And I think the big takeaway for Coruscant of what we've seen so far is that this is where the really richer than rich people are at. And like I've been having so much fun seeing Andor and now this show too show how the uber rich people on Coruscant are just like living their lives like nothing happened and acting like every other inconvenience or every other like big deal in the galaxy is as purely an inconvenience to them, and they're just like, oh, I wouldn't dare get involved
Mhm.
in blah blah blah, like. And the way that they started with Dr. Pershing and his little TED talk and the way that they handled all that, I loved just the snootiness of it all and the fact that they were like,
I almost got
wow,
drafted. Can
it's
you imagine me in the military? Oh.
yeah, can you imagine? And being like, oh wow, like we're so glad to have you on our side now. Like that doesn't mean anything to them. They're just saying that.
Yeah, their side is whatever side is winning. And to talk about Andor again, like I loved that consistency with Andor. I thought that lined up perfectly.
Yeah,
They would have gone to one of Perrin's parties and loved it.
right. And Amaranth is right. That is just
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
rich, the
The elite,
super rich elite folks,
not level
which
1313.
yeah, which we might see more of Coruscant in other things. So
Well, that's been confirmed. If that are you
what?
talking about Jedi Survivor?
Maybe.
They confirmed that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we might see some other stuff in other things.
Okay.
I realized what I was saying as I was saying it, and I did not say too much. So you're welcome.
Salvin Seer, thank you for the next super chat. Did you notice that Ragnar's creed at the end didn't include the oath to never remove his helmet? I think that symbolizes some growth in the Children of the Watch. I agree.
Yeah, we
I
brought
think
this
it
up
does.
kind of at the top of the show that it didn't include that part. And yes, this is nice of them to move past that, but I just wish they had addressed that a little more directly.
I agree that if I do think that we can read that as, yes, the Children of the Watch are growing and changing, they're being more accepting. I think it would have been nice to say a little more directly, but it's all good. Ice, thank you for the next one. Amazing finale. Had some of the best action the show has seen. Answered some questions we had and did some unexpected setup for season 4. Loved season 3 overall.
Great.
I thought the action all season they've had some really, really great just Mandalorian action.
Mm-hmm.
King George the Sixth, thank you for the next one. I was disappointed there wasn't a post-credit Thrawn going, "I'll do it myself" like Thanos, but Mummy Bo-Katan. Oh, okay, mommy. I was like, wait, what? Mummies. And Dad Din shielding their kid was cute. I gotcha.
Just the really quick mummies.
I gotcha.
When did we talk about this? Why did we
Probably.
talk about
Oh, when we went
mummies?
to the British Museum.
That's right.
And
Wait,
we were
was it
talking,
that?
I think so. And then we were talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Home
yeah.
Alone. And every
The
time
fact
you
that the fact that every time I think about mummies or see someone talking about mummies, all I think of is that scene from Home Alone where Kevin just very quietly on his own just says mummies. And like, I don't know why that's so funny to me. So like the whole time we were walking through the British Museum in the mummy section, I just kept going, mummies. I got the giggles. I have to go pee now.
Okay.
Oh, here.
You go ahead. But yeah, I thought Bo-Katan and Din shielding Grogu was super cute. And then I loved Grogu returning the favor and shielding both of them. Their little family unit was the best. Darth Nicholas, thank you for the next one. Building off James Clancy's super chat, and as someone who also preferred Bad Batch to Mando, I find it quite baffling that Bad Batch's season 2's overall direction was more mature than season 3's when you usually expect the opposite with animation. I do think it's interesting how mature the Bad Batch is, especially with those crosshair episodes, but I think that they know I might be way off base with this, but my assumption is that the people watching that show grew up with the Clone Wars, which means they're adults now and they want to see a Clone Wars style story continue. So they're watching The Bad Batch. So I think that series has the benefit of catering to adults a little bit more. They still keep it accessible to young audiences. You know, it's not like horribly violent or anything, but I do get that sense that they're like, we know there's a lot of adults watching this that grew up with the Clone Wars. So yeah, I think that then the Mandalorian is kind of a little bit of the opposite, where they're like, obviously a bunch of adults are watching this, but we want to also cater to a younger audience and like the Bad Batch, continue to be accessible and provide them with storytelling that they will enjoy as well. Eleanor Mueller, hey, how are you? And thank you for the super chat. Glad to see you better, Molly. Are Din and Grogu going to take the backseat in season 4 now? Is that why they're living on Navarro and not Mandalore? Oh, that's interesting. That's a completely different read than I had on the situation. My hope is the opposite. I feel like they took more of a backseat in season 3. I would like them to step into the spotlight more again in season 4. I want them to be the stars and the continued heart of the show. So, yeah, I'm hopeful that the rest of Mandalore is still around, but I hope that they uh I kind of hope that we're not done with the story on Mandalore, but that they aren't as prominent. Ice, thank you for another super chat. Glad to glad to see you're feeling better as well, Molly. I will let her know, but I think she saw. Calm like a bomb. Thank you for the next one. Axe may have been in pain at time, may have been a pain at times, but I was legit scared that they were going to have him go down with the ship. I'm so glad he got out. I had the same thoughts. I'm also glad he escaped. And again, I was just like in my head, like, oh my gosh, he's gonna have to die. But then he just shot a window out and flew away. And I was like, oh, that was really smart. Good job, Axe. Hey, Dan Ritter, and thank you for the next super chat. Enjoyed the slight cartoonishness, but it felt a little bit like they had to get Gideon off the board so Thrawn could be the new big bad. Just felt like we could have had more story beats for him. I think it's interesting you say that because something I compared uh this series to while we were on our walk earlier today is like a comic crossover event. The Star Wars comics will occasionally uh kind of all converge. And when that happens, the crossover main story just takes over and everything else kind of has to tread water until the big story beats happen and then they tread water a little more. And that's kind of how I felt season 3 might have been. Like it was telling a story that I like the big picture of it all. I liked it, but it felt like it was spinning its wheels a little bit. And I kind of think that you're right that maybe they had to push Gideon away for Thrawn to come in. I think that is an interesting thought. B Heaven, thank you for the next one. I always assumed Din was already Grogu's dad. Didn't the armor already confirm this a couple of seasons ago? And I'm confused by the name. Would it be Grogu Jaren? Uh, I'm not sure why they have a different naming convention than other Mandalorians, but that that's fine. Uh, or maybe Din is a title of some kind and we didn't know it. But yeah, like as far as I was concerned, Din and Grogu were already father and son, so it was nice to have it explicitly said in front of a lot of people and to have everyone be like, "Yeah, that little guy's a Mandalorian. I like that." So there is that, but I was kind of it felt like this big emotional moment, and I was like, weren't we already here? I thought we already agreed with this."
Oh, Den being his adopted father.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was also frustrating because we were just like, yeah, we
know.
got it. I thought we went over this. Like, I didn't think that we needed like an official adoption, which just was him officially saying in front of everyone that he was adopting him. It was very strange.
But I don't know that Din ever told Grogu that. I can't recall. I don't think he has ever said like, "Hey, Grogu, you are my son." Like the audience knows it, Bo-Katan knows it. A lot of other people around Din have said like your kid or to Grogu, your dad.
Hmm.
But I think it was important to have Din say those words.
Yeah, I guess.
It's one
Just
of those
felt
things
like
that it's like it's good for the characters, but for the audience, we're kind of like, yeah, we know.
uh, I guess for everything else that was set up, a lot of people may have been thinking like, ooh, is the mythosaur going to come out of the water and like surprise everybody? Just there was just so many other things set up in the rest of the season that the fact that the only place that that scene ended up at was that, yeah, Din is adopting Grogu. We were like, okay, yeah, we got that. What else?
What did you say when we were watching it? You were like, take your helmet off and kiss him on his little head.
Yeah, in the reaction,
Yeah.
that's what I said. Take your helmet off and kiss him on the head.
He deserves it. He saved your life like 8 times this episode.
Yeah.
Rubies with Matt, thank you for the next one. I hope this is the only season without actually seeing Pedro Pascal. He was busy with The Last of Us this season, but still seems a waste not seeing him once. Yeah, I missed him. I did. I was expecting for sure to see his face today, and I'm not like mad about it, but it just seemed like, okay, I guess he wasn't on set at all for this season.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they get all of Last of Us season 2 filmed and ready to go like soon so that he can shoot some real stuff for season 4.
I think they'll probably shoot season 4 before Last of Us season 2. Like Mando's been on a pretty
Oh,
good
you think so?
yearly. Yeah, I think they said Last of Us 2 would come out in 2025. So they'll probably shoot it in 2024, and I feel like Mando season 4 will probably shoot this year. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Either way, hopefully they can figure their schedules out for the show so that if they wanted to have Pedro's face on screen, he might have time for that.
Yeah, I'd like that too. Now I'm gonna run to the restroom and get a refill. So you take over.
Can you bring up the next one? Because I have not been keeping up with where we were at in
Just go.
chat.
You can go to the starred things.
Oh.
I've been a good boy.
Look at that. It's because he had to survive without me in the last stream. Okay, I'll bring up the next one here from Eric Foster. Thank you so much, Eric. Katie Sackhoff said something along the lines of, quote, "You may not like Bo," implying a Din betrayal. Brendan Wayne said the finale might just hurt too much. Why do you think they made these statements? I've seen a few people bring this up on Twitter, and I think, well, first off, Katie Sackhoff saying lines like, "You may not like Bo," I think she's saying that in comparison of what we've seen Bo-Katan do in other animated shows. So like her decisions in live action compared to what her decisions have been in the animated stuff. But I do think it's interesting that people like Brendan Wayne had said stuff like that about the finale. And to me, that says that maybe he thought Paz's fate was going to happen in the final episode. And it could have just been that, like, things got kind of jumbled and it was edited in a way that, like, that part, like Paz being killed, just happened to end up in the penultimate episode instead of the finale. I don't know, because like the alternative to that is maybe there was stuff that got filmed that they completely redid. Like maybe someone actually was supposed to die. Like a lot of people thought maybe the armorer would die or Bo-Katan would die, and I'm glad that neither of them did. But it is strange that some of the actors acted like something terrible was going to happen in the finale. And yeah, maybe it was just the Darksaber. Maybe we're just RIPing the Darksaber being gone, and that's what they were all talking about. But It is strange because overall, the finale seemed to pan out really well. It was a pretty happy ending overall. But yeah. What do you think could have been the reason of people saying things like, you might not like Bo, or the finale might just hurt too much? I was saying that I think the editing had just been kind of weird, maybe, and people may have thought Paz's death was going to be in the finale, and that's what they were referring to. But
I don't know
Katie
why
Sackhoff,
anyone would say you might not like Bo. Katie Sackhoff said that.
yeah,
Honestly,
I mean,
like that's I just don't listen to what actors say.
I was saying that it could be just her saying that because so many people are so attached to Bo-Katan's Bo-Katan's character in animation that could just be very surface level of Katie being like, you might not like live action Bo-Katan. She's a little different.
I have no idea. I did hear people talking about what Brendan Wayne said, but it's like I never see that stuff, and then when I do hear it, I'm like, I'm not gonna take it into account because it feels like it so often doesn't come to pass.
Yeah, hard to say.
Like it's their job to hype things up. So
That's true. It's their job to like create hype and possibly even drama where there isn't really any. So
yeah. Eric Bruno has another one. Thank you, Eric. Episode 6, they ate the baby birds. I don't think those were the baby birds. Those were those like flying things that are native to Navarro that poisoned Grief Karga.
oh wait, they did cook and eat an animal?
Wait, I'm thinking of episode 7.
What are you talking about? When did they eat?
And this is episode 7, I think Eric Bruno means. But when all of the Mandalorians came to Navarro, you can see like a winged animal on a spit. And I
Oh.
did see that. I'm pretty sure it's the creatures that are native to Navarro, though.
I hope so.
I don't think they cooked and ate those baby birds.
Yeah, because I did bring that up at the top of the show, and I was like, hey, those guys never came back, the little bird creatures, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Gabo Lizardo, thank you for the next one. With the multiple endings, Grogu adoption, Forge relighting, and Mando settling on Navarro, I almost thought this was a series finale. Do you think Ahsoka will be a sort of Mandalorian season 3.5 to set up 4? No, I don't at all.
Not so far. Nothing in Ahsoka has anything to do with Mando stuff,
Except for Thrawn.
except for Thrawn. I mean, he is like going to be the big bad, and even in Mando stuff, he's barely been mentioned.
Yeah.
We just kind of, as fans, we know that's where this is headed because we know that he's going to be in Ahsoka, and Ahsoka mentioned his name once, and his name has been mentioned once more since then.
Yeah, 2 episodes he's been talked about. So, if anything, I think that one mention was build up for Ahsoka. And I mean, I did think we'd get like a post-credit scene or something to tease Ahsoka, but the fact that we didn't makes me think even more strongly that they're obviously the shows are connected, but they're not going to be Ahsoka will not be Mandalorian season 3.5.
No, if anything, it's going to be Rebels season 5 or 4.5 or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
It's not going to have anything to do with Mando. Now, going forward past that, I think there's bound to be stuff in Ahsoka that will come back up in Mando season 4.
Sure.
And I wouldn't.
Yeah, they're still going to be connected.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Mando and Grogu did show up in one episode of Ahsoka, but I also am not expecting it because the story that they're setting up for Ahsoka season 1 has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I don't think so. Logan Joyner, thank you for the next one. Could the armorer say what have said what she said in order to get Mando to adopt Grogu intentionally? Could she have known this was what needed to happen for Din? I do kind of think that when she was all like, "Oh, who even knows if his parents are alive? And if they are, they're far from here." Like, I do think she was kind of like pushing him into that moment. It's kind of like I said earlier. It's a moment that was important for the people on screen, but if you have been watching the show, you're like, I thought you were here already.
Yeah.
That's how it felt to me.
We've established this. Feels like. I don't know. I still am in this weird mindset of not fully trusting the armorer. And so still, even after this finale, I feel like a lot of stuff that she does is sus. Because she just like seemingly just makes up rules on the spot. And the way she says them out loud, it's like, oh yeah, we all knew that. Oh yeah, it's not official until he says it in front of all of us, I guess. Oh yeah, they have to go on journeys now.
I don't think the show is trying to code her as sus.
I don't think so either at this point, but I'm upset about it.
You just don't like her. I've come around on her. The entire season, I was pretty anti-armorer, but I think by now the show has proven to me that that's not what they're going for. So okay, I'm gonna hop off that train.
She says things as if she is like the Pope of the Mandalorians, which maybe she is, but they've said about her so far is that she's the armorer.
Uh-huh.
Does that mean the Pope in Mandalorian?
Sounds like there were several armorers in the past. I mean, there had to have been more than just her at the Great Forge.
I just don't understand why the only way we get any definitive rules is through her dialogue. And it's said in a very matter-of-fact way to the point where it makes me feel dumb for not having known about it already.
Yeah, like, okay, I do see what you're saying there, that she still has this power of like, I'm just going to tell you how it is, and Din Djarin, you're going to agree with me.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about that, but I don't think that she has evil intentions. I do think she has the best intentions of Mandalorians at heart.
And it feels like she could say anything right or wrong. And then if someone agrees with her, we get a this is the way from the armorer.
Uh-huh.
If someone disagrees with her, we still get a this is the way. And I'm like, what does it mean?
Wait, when do they disagree with her and she comes back with this is the way?
I'm just saying that feels like what this is the way has been like so far in this show.
It's like a catch-all of just when she wants to end a conversation.
Yeah. It's a catch-all, like you said. I am so frustrated by her.
Well, we'll see what happens in the next season.
This feels right.
Yeah,
this tracks for how I'm feeling because I'm just so frustrated by all of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason that we have kind of piled all of that onto the armor, is like, especially like I have some religious trauma that I'm like, I see the armor acting that way, and my instinct is to be like, these rules are dumb. Let's stop it. And you know what? She did. Like, that's what the Children of the Watch did, is they stopped judging all of the other Mandalorians, and they were like, you know what? We're going to live by our rules, but you should also live by your rules. We're not going to impose our rules onto you. And so them doing that is enough for me to be like, okay, you're fine.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, of just that power that she wields, of just, oh, this is the way. If I want it to be.
If I said so.
Yeah, she can say anything, And Din will be like, okay, I guess I have to. But Meg Brennan has the next super chat. Thank you, Meg. Parallels between The Mandalorian and Judaism are such an awesome lens to understand this season and also fix the helmet/no helmet issue, as Orthodox and Reformed Jews can coexist. I mean, that they're like to talk about religion and coexisting and having different rules. I mean, like I look through it all through a Christianity lens because that's how I was raised. But yeah, there are different sects of Judaism. There are different sects of Christianity, and I've been in discussions where they'll be like, "Well, those Christians just don't know what they're talking about, but we do," and you're like, "Oh, okay. Like, don't we all believe basically the same thing?" Like,
And like I wasn't raised with any kind of religion really, so I feel like I'm looking at all this and being like, why though? Why is anyone following any of these rules? In my world, it's all chaos, and that makes sense to me.
someone pointed out, thank you, Lion Cleggy, about the giveaway. It has
Oh,
ended.
is that over now?
Yeah, so I will pick the winners.
Two people are getting one of these.
We have James Brennan and Adam Marks. If they're in the chat, I don't know, but you just won. So I will, if you're here, I'm going to be shooting you both an email. If you're not, I'm still going to be shooting you an email. But those are, I think that's probably James Brennan.
JB.
And Adam Marks. Hey,
yay!
All right. Congratulations, both of you. I will send you emails. Emails will be shot.
We're gonna continue this trend of giveaways too.
Yeah,
and
we've already got
into Ahsoka.
Yeah, we've already got something for Ahsoka. And just because this is such a good question, but Grayson asked where I got this shirt because I'm the third person you've seen wearing it, including Ahmed Best. It's a Jedi Temple Challenge shirt, and I assume it was official merch, but Lucasfilm,
I don't think it was.
I don't know. Lucasfilm sent it to us after we did and I shouldn't even, it was the producer of Jedi Temple Challenge sent us these shirts because for Halloween 2020 we did a goofy video where we pretended we were in Jedi Temple Challenge and they loved it, so they sent us shirts. So that's where I got it.
And we had also met him at that previous celebration, so he knew who we were, and it was a thing.
But let's keep on going. Rainer Bless, thank you for the next one. Why didn't Gideon protect his clones better? I mean,
I've seen so many people bring this up, and I'm like, surely he wasn't expecting to have a bunch of Mandalorians break into his compound and ruin all of his plans. So, like, it makes sense to me that they weren't more protected.
Well, he had like 4 or 5 laser gates set up, and each level was guarded. But as I think about it, then you just walked through the cloning room, and then you walked into like the hologram council room, and then on the other side of that was just a hangar. So like one side was super protected, and one side like was just out to the open space.
I just didn't think. I feel like Gideon was so sure in himself, and he was so sure that the Mandalorians as a whole wouldn't be able to get their act together enough and cooperate enough to like work with each other to come back to Mandalore, so that he felt completely safe there.
Yeah, but it is kind of funny that he only put laser gates up on one side.
See, that didn't faze me at all, because like I don't think of sides and the schematics of the room or any of that stuff.
It didn't faze me either, and I didn't realize it until right now when I started thinking about it. But whatever. Like, it's just Gideon dumb.
It's the fact that he is
Yeah,
so
overconfident. I like that.
overconfident that he felt like he didn't need more security.
But he's like, I need security on this half, but not on the half that just opens up to the hangar. Ice, thank you for the next one. I do feel like some decisions were made because of forces outside of the team's control, like Rangers of the New Republic getting booted, so they had to make do. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Ice says Rangers was probably going to be a more in-depth look at the New Republic and covering Gideon's escape proper, but they were forced to power through those beats.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I kind of think the Gideon stuff was something that they added. I don't like, that's just my gut feeling, but I don't know. I keep saying that, but I have no proof or evidence.
I felt like at the end of season 3 season 2 going into season 3, I kept thinking if we see Gideon again, it'll be his trial or it'll be him in prison and someone will be going to visit him and it'll just be like a quick little talk. No part of me thought that we were going to skip all of that and go right to him escaping. So yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say what was originally supposed to go down before they had to change some stuff. Things are always changing in shows like this. We're not adapting this show after a video game or a comic book or anything. This show is just happening in real time, so things are always in motion.
It's kind of like the same way they had a novel planned and then they were going to do a reference book and then they went, wait. Like, we might do all this other stuff that might build into a movie. So they like just canceled that and shifted around. And maybe the movie shifted things again. I don't know. But literal table 756, thank you for the next one. I said back during episode 2 stream that IG-11 could become Navarro's new marshal. Took until the end of the season, but I'm glad I was right. Well called.
Yeah.
I like that we wound up there because I was surprised that we just went from we're going to rebuild him to never mind, now he's a mech. And then the mech got cut up and I was like, oh, I guess that's the end of IG-12.
Yeah.
Like, nope, we're going to bring it back home.
Although, did they salvage his body after that ship crashed into the compound and all that stuff happened? Like, did they just go back and find the rest of his body and then he found the head at the New Republic place and that's how that happened? Because I was like, they didn't show them salvaging the rest of him after the ship crashed into Gideon's compound.
Oh, they didn't show them salvaging him after he exploded in a lava field either, so
yeah. And like they shouldn't have to, but I was kind of just like, oh, I guess they saved the rest of him so that all he needs is the head.
Yeah. Sweet Feet Pete, thank you for the next super chat. Bro, Praetorian guards are awesome. Alex, you got my hopes up with a Thrawn teaser. Sorry. And do we think Gideon's actually dead? Well, don't listen to me. I'm just talking. I don't know anything. I'm just saying my hopes. Do we think Gideon's actually dead? Yeah.
He better be. I'll be pissed if he's not. And we did get a Thrawn teaser. It was just at Celebration.
Oh.
And not everyone saw it. But it's probably out there on the internet somewhere.
It definitely is. Myriad Media Musings, thanks for the next one. Bit of a High Republic jump. Given an older Venestra appearing in Acolyte, and that shows themes, is it possible this could spell the end of her by the show's end? Could Venestra die in the Acolyte? I mean, she could.
That would be so rude. Absolutely not. They're not going to have her be in all these books and comics and stories by these amazing authors, and then the minute she shows up in a live action show, they kill her off? No, that's not happening.
I'm trying to. All Leslie Headland talked about in the panel was that she really loved the idea of the character and the fact that she was one of the youngest Jedi Knights ever knighted. That she was like 15 when she was knighted and like this prodigy. So I do think that will be important to her character in the series. But I don't know. I hope she doesn't die.
I
Kind of like, I guess the themes being the loss of the golden age of the Jedi and everything.
yeah,
I mean,
I don't see her dying in that show. That would be a little too jarring, I think. Even for the new people who don't know who she is, I think it would still be jarring for her to show up, talk about all the things that she's been through, and then die.
well, Calm Like a Balm has the next one. Having Gideon destroy the saber and then she beats him anyway, that feels better to me. It shows that she's over her need for it and can move on. I mean, I think that works to a degree.
Mhm.
Just
Especially with
it just didn't work for me.
his comment about Mando's uh, and their trinkets. Like he said that they're
Mandos are
only
nothing without their trinkets.
yeah, like you could tell that that got under her skin.
I mean, yeah, I did like that him saying you're nothing without your Darksaber or your jetpacks or whatever, but she's like, no, all we need is one another. It's like I like the messaging, I like the themes of this season, but just some of the things they did, I'm like,
Mm.
I feel like it could have been said better or differently. And like I'm so glad it worked for you. It just like for some reason it didn't land for me.
I
That's it.
think that is the case for a lot of people too. But at least some of it did land.
Yeah. Sweet Feet Pete, thank you for another super chat. I think the armorer got a bad rap for me all this season. She's my hammer wielding, helmet smashing, exposition dumping bae. She's my good time girl.
That is fair. You know,
Yeah.
I do feel guilty about giving her so much crap, and I feel like I'm dumping a lot of my issue with the show as a whole on that character, and I
But
should
like,
stop.
and I'm dumping my issues with religion on that character, which again,
Which that's
which
a
I
whole
also
other.
yeah, which I agree is not fair to her. I do think she got a bad rap from me this season that she did not deserve. I thought they were going to head one way with her, and they did not. And she was cool the whole time. And they kept on showing me she was cool when she was like, "Hey, Grogu, why don't you come with me and I'll make you some new armor?" Like the fact that she accepted him as Mandalorian from the start was a good sign. So, apologies, armorer. Also, I've met Emily Swallow and she is lovely. So
That's true.
I'm sorry, Emily.
I feel like I've just this whole time I've been wanting her to be able to take off her helmet because Emily Swallow is hot, and I feel like hot people need to show their faces in Star Wars. Pedro.
Eventually. Liam Logston, thank you for the next one. This is my favorite season so far. There are a couple things that make me tilt my head, but I think they are things that will be talked about next season. Y'all are awesome. Love all that you do. Thank you, Liam. I think that's a solid point to bring up, is that every season of this show has raised questions about, like, wait a minute, Mandalorians leave their helmets on? What's that about? And then the very next season, we got the answer. And then in that season, they were like, wait a minute, why didn't Bo Katan just take the Darksaber like she did in Star Wars Rebels? And then in the Book of Boba Fett, they were like, here's why. And so we start to get those answers if we're patient. So I think I have some questions, and it's very, very possible that they will be cleared up in season 4.
Agreed.
Ice, thanks for another super chat. The fact that we didn't get a helmetless scene this season pretty much confirms to me they didn't have Pedro Pascal much in production because of his other commitments, which honestly explains so much. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Pedro, you better make time for your little green baby
Yeah, Pedro's over
and the rest
here
of us.
making amazing television all over the place and movies.
And TikToks.
And that's just by happenstance. But
Yeah,
but yeah,
there.
it's like Pedro's just running around being in all this amazing stuff, and he needs to make some time for Star Wars fans again. Pedro, come back.
Yeah.
Which I think that also explains why Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder were like listed in the main cast this year, and I'm glad they have continued to do that since Celebration last year. They were like, hey, let's bring out Pedro and Brendan and Lateef, like the entire team that makes up the Mandalorian, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously that character in the show do not exist without Brendan or Lateef.
Yeah.
Pedro gets the spotlight, but yeah, I agree. I don't think he was on set this season. Maybe a gallery episode will come out, a behind the scenes thing, and we'll be proven wrong, but I'll be shocked if he were.
I mean, like, Pedro Pascal was already an amazing actor
Mhm.
and well established in his own right. But like Star Wars has done a lot for him since then. And
Mhm.
he owes us some more FaceTime, I think.
Let me see your face, Pedro. It's
It's a
not
good
all over my
face.
TikTok.
It's a good face. Yeah, it's I don't see it enough on TikTok. His Hot Ones episode is so
Oh,
good.
when did
Did you
that come
watch
out?
it?
No, is that
We
when was
should
that?
watch that after
Okay.
this.
All right.
It's so funny. If you don't watch Hot Ones, watch just that episode. It's hilarious.
Well, do you remember like an hour ago when we had 66 super chats left?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay, because now we have 61, so we're doing great.
Okay, let's speed it up. We got to eat dinner at some point.
Arkham Prisoner, thank you for the next one. So that was a Gideon clone that died, right? Gideon always had a mustache, and this Gideon clone, Gideon, like the clones, was mustacheless. I will die on this hill. Hey, I respect that. I respect you admitting that this is a hill that you're gonna die on. But I like that everyone's pointing out the mustache. Star Wars fans are so involved in other people's facial hair.
Star Wars has
Like,
the best
oh,
fans.
Ewan McGregor has a beard again. He's obviously shooting Obi-Wan Kenobi, we said for 6 years. No, I think Gideon's dead and gone.
Dead and gone. Period.
Darth Nicholas says, why not just deepfake Pedro if he's unavailable? Because that is technology that should not be used lightly. That's what I say.
Yeah, if Star Wars starts doing the whole deepfake thing too much, it's gonna lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like a slap in the face sometimes. Like we're smart enough to know that this isn't that person, and like why would you continue to write stories about this person in live action when you know you're just going to use this technology to recreate them? And I don't know, it just feels weird.
I just think it's like a morally weird thing. And
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, if Pedro signs off on it, then okay, I guess. I still don't want it to happen, but it's the Jurassic Park. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And
Yeah.
there's something about it that doesn't sit right with me.
Nah, me neither. I kind of hate the deepfake stuff. I'll tolerate it, but like I said, if it starts to happen too much more, I will be very active in the community and voicing my opinions against it.
It's something like when it's Luke and it's Mark Hamill's performance and it's a deep fake slash de-aging thing. That feels a little different because you fully have his blessing. When it's
Mhm.
Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones and you de-age him, that's different. Like he is fully involved, but people talk about just, oh, why don't we just deep fake Carrie Fisher? I'm like, no, I don't like that. I mean, I was already iffy about the Peter Cushing Grand Moff Tarkin thing. It just gets into this weird area that I don't think needs to be explored too much on that.
Yeah. I would love it if they brought back Luke, Han, and Leia for Filoni's movie. As David said in the chat, recast them. For the love of God, recast them. Give them actual actors to play their younger selves, because I will not.
Well, like in that case, I would be okay with de-aged Mark and Harrison, which I know involves deep faking, but I just wouldn't like a de-aged Carrie Fisher, or like a deep faked Carrie Fisher, I should say. That feels icky. Like I don't even care if her estate gives permission. I just don't
Yeah.
want it.
We can move on from this, but because Doomslayer is so adamant in saying that they're for the deepfake stuff and that they don't want recast, I'm just curious that for the rest of chat, would you be okay with recasts for those characters going forward?
I mean, like, I think that they should just leave those characters alone. I think that the way to handle it in this era is basically the way we handled the Rebels characters in Rogue One, which is to be like, hey, the ghost is over there. Hera's on that ship, and I know that. So if we end this thing with the Battle of Bilbringi, let's keep it focused on, which is from the Thrawn trilogy. Let's keep it focused on Ahsoka and Din and Bo-Katan and whoever is involved in this storytelling, and we can be like, there's the Millennium Falcon. Han is here. And we can know that, but I don't think we need to see it.
I mean, Alden Ehrenreich could come back.
I'm all for that.
Like, I feel better now that I'm reading chat, because I felt like for a second I was just the crazy grumpy one that preferred recasts, but I'm seeing a lot of other people say that they would prefer that too. And it's just tough going forward, because I know I forget what episode it was I was listening to. Maybe it was the last Mando review from Force Center, where Joseph was saying he wasn't sure how they would do a movie like what Filoni wants to do in that time period without bringing in those main characters, without having Leia in it.
Oh, I'm kind of expecting them to do deep fakes and stuff. I'm just not. I think it is a morally slippery slope. I don't know. It just, something about it just, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah,
and I can't fully explain why.
Yeah, if that's the case, I won't be super happy with all of that. But I can't say that for sure, because that's years from now. So
We'll cover that when it happens.
we'll be so old by then. We won't even remember what our names are.
We'll be deep fakes ourselves. David McHugh has the next one. Thanks, Dave. Loved Pershing's story this season, but not coming back to it makes me wonder what the point was. Didn't you think we would see the Mind Flayer again? Yeah, kinda, but I think the point of it was that he had knowledge of Gideon and what he was up to, and he needed to be removed. And it also showed just kind of what was happening within the New Republic.
Yeah. I was also shocked that we never saw anything else from Dr. Pershing or what's her name?
Kane.
Kane. But I guess we saw the clones of Gideon. We saw them get destroyed. Like, that stuff got closed. I guess I just was feeling bad for Dr. Pershing and wondering if he was still alive or if he died from that or if he's just like in a vegetative state
That's kind of what I
somewhere.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of like bummed for that actor.
Carla Warwick has the next one. Thank you. This season confirmed for me that the title The Mandalorian is referring to Grogu. We are seeing his origin story and how he becomes one. I think similar to the way most of the episode titles can refer to multiple things. Also, the series title can.
Everyone calls Din Mando, so I just assume the title is about him.
I think it could be about both of them.
Could be.
Scorpionell, thanks for the next one. The rumors Pedro is leaving Mando are wrong, right? I don't know. I assume so. I don't keep up with rumors.
I haven't even seen that rumor.
I don't know why he would. I mean, right now, this is the easiest job for him. He shows up 1 or 2 days on set, shows his face, or in some seasons, he doesn't at all, and then just comes in and does voiceover. Like, and he gets to be the face of a character in Star Wars. Like, I don't know why he would do that.
I think he's sticking around.
Yeah. I don't put stock in any of those rumors. Ice, thank you for another super chat. We probably didn't get some major scenes for Din in season 3 because that just wasn't an option, as he would have had to remove his helmet. I hope he's able to be there in season 4 so his story can keep pace. Yeah, kind of along the lines we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably correct.
They're already saving so much money by not having Pedro in this much.
Yeah. Matthew Byron, thank you for the next super chat. I'm confused. I thought the Praetorian Guard only served Palpatine. Also, who will take Moff Gideon's place? Is Pershing gone? Well, the Praetorian Guard served Snoke. So, like, I think at this point, with the Emperor gone, the Praetorian Guard may have come about instead of calling them royal guards because none of them were royalty. It was like an evolution of the Imperial Guard.
To me, they're royalty.
Who will take Gideon's place? Probably Thrawn. Is Pershing gone? I think so.
Oh. Probably. And yeah, I think we're building to a bigger villain.
Yeah. Mike Welch, thank you for your super chat, but I didn't see a message attached to it. May have been a sticker in the chat. I'm not sure. Darth Nicholas, thank you for the next super chat. Despite also being underwhelming Bad Batch Season 1 finale, I liked it. At least offered enough to pique my interest for the next season in a way that this Mando finale did not. With that said, how excited are you for Mando 4? Oh, I honestly did get my attention piqued for season 4 because I want the show to go back to Din and Grogu adventures together.
Same. I was ready for all the infighting between all the different Mandalorians to be done with and for us to get back to Din's story, Grogu's story. I love Bo-Katan, but we got there. We retook Mandalore. Great.
Mr. Shu, thank you for the next one. Felt like this season needed one more episode, and 23 and 24 should have either released on the same day or as a single episode. I kind of think that would have helped me.
Yeah. Maybe. Like, when we put it like that, it feels like that could have been said about the season back when they were just planning to have it be like 6 seasons, and then they did give it an extra couple episodes, and they're like, whew, we dodged that bullet, and now we're like, could have used a little more. I think we're gonna always say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think really it's just that they knew. John Favreau wrote this as 8 episodes. He knew the story he wanted to tell, so I,
It
I
did
don't
feel
think I don't think it was anyone mandating like you have this much time to tell this story where like he could have rewritten it if he wanted to. So I don't know if what I'm saying is coming across clearly.
it did feel like we didn't really get anywhere until the last 2 episodes.
Yes.
Like, we didn't know what this season was trying to say for sure until the last 2 episodes, which is why I think us and a lot of other people thought it was a little messy.
Hmm.
Like, it felt like they didn't know what they were trying to say until the very, very end.
But I don't think more episodes would have changed that. I think John Favreau is writing the show he wants to write, and sometimes it means we're gonna go hang out with Jack Black and Lizzo for an episode, which
Which I
is
loved.
yeah, like that's just what he wants to do is like this adventure of the week style storytelling. And then at the end, we'll do a big dump of Gideon stuff.
Yeah.
Dave McHugh, thank you for another super chat. No direct setup for Ahsoka with a credit scene. I figured general audiences could use a reminder that Ahsoka is related to the Mandalorian. I thought so too. I was kind of bummed we didn't get one, but oh well.
Yeah. Also bummed, but I feel like at this point, Ahsoka is such a hugely known character that they don't really need a setup.
Yeah. I just don't think it's going to be as closely connected as Book of Boba Fett was.
Oh, yeah.
David Livingston, thanks for the next one. Are there any Mandalorian characters anywhere in the sequels, novels, comics, Resistance show, etc., or have they wiped themselves out through another civil war, or maybe something else? There are no characters that I can recall, but we do see Mandalorian Fang starfighters at the Battle of Exegol, so I think they're around.
I hope that just means that, like, they still exist as a culture. They're not actively at war with anyone for a while after. Like, maybe they're just living peacefully, which
Yeah.
is great.
I think that's fine. I mean, that makes sense. They should be in the era of the New Republic. Blake Davison, thanks for the next one. Hey, folks, hope all is well. Do you think Thrawn's aiding in Palp's return, or do you think he's planning for his own selfish reasons like Gideon? I'm going to just assume Thrawn doesn't know about Palpatine.
Doesn't know about him?
Or if he does, like, I don't think Thrawn is a fan of Palpatine. I do think that he would be... Thrawn didn't like the Death Star. He likes the might of the Empire, but I don't think he likes Palpatine's methodology.
Yeah, I think he doesn't have much respect for Palpatine.
I think he respects his power. I just don't think he likes what he stands for. But but Thrawn can be just as vicious. Mike Welch, thank you for another super chat. Do we think Grogu is being set up to be a Jedi with Rey in the Rey movie?
No. As much as I would love to see it, I'm going to say no. But prove me wrong, Star Wars.
He'd be getting close to 100 at that point, I think.
He'd be a good age for it. Like, I think who was it? John Hoey. I remember tweeting about this a while back. Like, this could be a good age for him to show up in a movie like this to be a Jedi, which would be cool. I just, like, where I'm at now with my journey with Star Wars, I'm going to say no.
I'm also going to guess no, since we're getting like a movie about all of that and a movie about the Dawn of the Jedi. I think the Rey movie will be its own thing. But you never
Because,
know.
like, he's not a Jedi. He's a Mandalorian that can use the Force.
Yeah. Hey, Matty Gunner, thank you for the next super chat. Love that we got a John Wayne style ending with Brendan wearing the suit. Sorry, just seems like a really fitting end to this story. I liked the peaceful, happy ending of the season.
That he was, like, kicked back with his feet crossed and just, like, chilling.
Yep.
I just wish that we could have seen his face. Should
Same.
be able to take his helmet off in his own freaking house.
Agreed. Sweet Feet Pete, thank you for another super chat. You say the hammer isn't useful? She can call meals and bash heads with it. I didn't say that. Molly said that.
It is her talking stick.
See, another use.
It just is impractical in a big fight like that, where everyone else has blasters.
A hammer is a strong weapon. Robert Baratheon used a hammer.
Everyone else has blasters.
She survived. She did fine.
Well, she should be lucky.
She was, I guess. Lesmond de Gaunt, thank you for the next super chat. Hey, I'm glad you were feeling better, Molly, and that you liked my British B1. Do you think that we might see Jason Syndulla and Ahsoka?
First of all, thank you. I am feeling better. Second of all, loved the British B1. Still have it in my like pile back there of like swag stuff that I need to go through.
Over there.
Oh, you have it?
Yeah, I put it in the video last Saturday.
Stole it. Okay.
I had it the whole time. I packed it.
Do we think we'll see Jason Syndulla and Ahsoka? Maybe. I don't think that is a planned storyline for that show. But I mean, we've got Hera, so it's a strong possibility that we get Hera's son, or at least a mention of him.
I hope there's a mention of him. Like, where is that child? He's been mentioned in several stories, but never popped up again. So I would like to see it. Just like drop him off at a daycare or something. He would be about 9. I think he's too young for the full-on adventure, but I would like an appearance, yeah. Darth Nicholas, thank you for another super chat. Do you think Clan Fett survived the Mandalorian Purge? If they were still based on Concord Dawn, I think they'd have a better chance of surviving. Could we see Boba reconnect with the extensive Fett clan down the road? I think that Jango and Boba and technically Omega, I think they're the only Fetts. Like, Jango was adopted by Jaster Muriel, so he was a foundling. I don't think there were other Fetts to call a clan.
No, I don't think so.
Ice, thank you for the next one. I'm sad the Darksaber is gone. If I had one criticism, it would be that I don't think it needed to happen, but I did like what it meant in the moment. Gideon didn't care. Bo did, but she rose above it. I do like that she rose above it.
Yeah, I'm sad it's gone too, but I understand why, and I'm sad it's gone, but I'm also like kind of glad it's gone, if that makes sense. It just means that no one will be able to use that as a crush anymore.
I'm okay with it being gone. Kerlija, thank you for the next super chat. I can't believe they actually gave Grogu Chicky Nuggies, chalky milk next season. Yeah, he got snacks at the bar, right? On Adelphi.
Was it Chicky Nuggies?
They kind of looked like it.
I need to go back and look, because I just feel like it was like bar snacks, which I just assume are like space peanuts or something.
Tiny Chicky Nuggies.
Oh.
Spiral, thanks for the next one. Have either of you played the card game Dominion? I'm a big fan and wish there were a Star Wars reskin version of it. I doubt it'll ever happen, though. I have not.
If you haven't, I definitely haven't.
It sounds familiar, but I have not played it, and I don't know what it's about. Sorry. Spiral, thank you for the next one. Have either of you... Oh, wait. Oops. Diego Imanol, thank you for the next one. The spies are the friends we made along the way.
That's what I said. Hell yeah. I just said that because I was like, oh, we never got the other spy, and everyone was talking about that for like a week straight.
Dragoness Prime, thanks for the next one. I assume it's to invoke samurai culture. I'm gonna guess that might be involved with us talking about Din's name.
Din's because the switch between Din and Jaren and which one comes first. Yeah, because I know in like Asian culture, the whole name thing is swapped.
Maybe. So I'm going to try to pick up the pace because we have to go eat dinner. But
well, we might be able to just carry some of these over to tomorrow's stream.
we can. I mean, I was just going to read these, but
yeah. I mean, there's just like a lot, and we need to go eat dinner, so
I can stay if you want to cook.
Let's keep going for now.
Okay. Nerdy Seb, thank you for the next one. Can't wait for Survivor and keep up the great work. Thank you, Nerdy. Ice, Gideon creating clones of himself feels perfect. He's definitely got the overinflated ego to do that. The scene with the clone waking up was so creepy. It made Molly jump.
As soon as they did the camera like close up on that clone's face, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna open its eyes and it's gonna be scary.
And
like I knew it was coming, and I still jumped.
Jesus Fernandez. Honestly, I had a rough time this season. The writing never did it for me. However, you guys always made Mando Day enjoyable with positive vibes. Thanks. I kind of feel similarly about the season overall, but I still enjoyed the show. I still enjoyed watching it every week.
Yeah. Honestly, going to Celebration in between the second half of this season has been tough. Just we took that trip to LA and then we did Celebration. So like for us, or I guess I don't want to speak for you. For me, the last couple of episodes of the season were just hard to keep on top of and like keep fresh in my mind because we were doing so much traveling.
Yeah. Eduardo Pedrero, thank you for the next one. Let me ask you about the important character. What do you think about R5D4's heroic moment and what happened or will happen to him? I loved his stand against all the mouse droids.
Did he take a stand?
Yeah. Knocked some of them off.
He's just like, I'm out of here.
I guess he just left.
I have jetpacks and you don't.
I liked his retreat. Sweet VP, thank you for another one. Do you think we'll have to wait as long for season 3? I think it depends on Pedro Pascal's schedule.
For 4?
Yeah.
You mean season 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andy says he did zap one. R5
That's
did
true.
zap one. Ice says the Shadow Council scene last week is even more funny now that we know Gideon is replying to Hux. The creation of clones is your obsession, not mine. He says as directly behind him lies a room full of copies of himself. Oh yeah. I mean, that we saw him walk through that room in the last episode. So we knew that was BS from the start.
Yeah.
Joel Ramirez, thank you for the next super chat. Do you guys feel like they left a lot on the bone this season? It feels like this is the first time where their episodic formula didn't mesh well with what they had down on paper, reuniting the Mandalorians.
First time.
If they left a lot on the bone. I don't know. I feel like we did spend a lot of time with the Mandalorians. I kind of wish that we got to do, even though the Jack Black Lizzo episode wasn't my favorite of the bunch, I kind of wish we got to do more varied stuff like that. We spent a lot of time with the Children of the Watch this season. And maybe that's what you mean, Joel, but I kind of felt like we maybe spent too much time with the Mandalorians.
Yeah, I just feel like they didn't really prioritize the time spent with them because it felt like they were shifting gears in the storytelling pretty late in the game.
How so?
But just with how messy the writing was this season, like it just felt like they were shifting gears quickly to make up for the loss of the Rangers of the New Republic show.
Yeah, it did feel a little scattered, I guess. Despite that feels antithetical to what I just said, but like having such a strong focus on the Mandalorians, it still felt like there was more they could have done. I don't know. My brain is fried.
We've been going for 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh, Vex431, thank you for the next super chat. Din and Grogu will inevitably be brought into the fight against Thrawn in the movie, but will there be a new big bad for this series specifically? I don't know that we need one because Gideon wasn't around that much. He was more present in season 2, but he's only been in 8 episodes. He's been in a third of the episodes.
I do like that they introduced the Shadow Council to us because now we have Brindle Hux in the mix. And I know a lot of people have been saying, like, where's Ray Sloan? I think she could be introduced at some point. But a lot of that has to do with the New Republic and not specifically Din and Grogu's journey. So it just depends on where the overall story is going as far as like what other big bads might show up.
Yeah. I think maybe just the Imperial remnant as a whole could be the big bad.
Yeah.
Darth Nicholas, thanks for the next one. I still ask myself what the point of the Book of Boba Fett was. A way to capitalize on Boba Fett's long-established popularity in lieu of the canceled Boba Fett movie. Did the Mando stuff come later in development, or was it always part of the plan? I mean, our tinfoil hat theory about that was that it also had to do with Pedro Pascal's schedule, and that maybe they were just like, all right, while he's busy doing Last of Us, we can shoot a show that will keep the story going. We won't have to take a whole year off. But I think it was probably, I don't think it had to do with the movie so much as just let's tell the story of Boba Fett and what happened to him after the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah. I mean, I think it could have been something to do with the movie, just depending on how far along the talks of doing a movie like that went. Because if it went far enough along and then they decided to scrap the movie, they could have been like, well, we're going to scrap the movie, but we also want to like still tell part of this story, and here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, anything that gets put in development at Star Wars, even if it's abandoned, they're like, we're going to hold on to that. Like, ideas pop up all the time from canceled projects.
Yeah.
So maybe. Luke Van Owen, thank you for the next one. Thoughts about Axe Wove's survival? Seemed like a great setup for sacrifice. Also, there was a weird discontinuity with the fleet size in the last 3 episodes. For Axe, I mean, I'm glad he survived. I'm glad that he didn't sacrifice himself because he didn't need to at all.
No. And that's what like we were really worried about. Like, he didn't need to sacrifice. He was just sitting there. He wasn't steering the ship in any one direction. And so I would have been really sad if he had just died.
Yeah. Luke said, we've already talked about that, but I like Uncle X too, but I wish we got to see all those Fang fighters and a couple of Gazantis in action. I do agree that it's like the TIE interceptors and bombers are coming. You had starfighters. Like, where did they run off to? I think they were in higher in orbit. I don't know. It's like we saw them all in orbit above Navarro, and then they jumped, and a lot of them were gone. So I don't know what the discrepancy there was, why they left some of their ships behind. Star Wars Lawyer, thank you for the next one. Hey, y'all, I enjoyed Mando Season 3. Not my favorite season, but lots to enjoy, especially Keller and Beck, Bo-Katan, and the Mythosaur. Keller and Beck, one of my favorite Star Wars things that's happened in a long time.
Wait, is this the cosplayer we saw?
Uh-huh. The Keller and Beck cosplayer?
Yeah, okay. I saw the name and I was like, wait, that's ringing a bell. Cool.
I think I have a picture of them. I do. It's uploading. Boom.
Nice.
Thanks, Star Wars Lawyer. And your cosplay was great.
Yeah.
Francisco Gios, thanks for the next one. I'm glad there wasn't any bad apple within the United Mandalorians. That would be too much for the species of Mandalore. One feat after another would be overkill. I'm also glad that there didn't wind up being any spies within them like we speculated for a week.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I'm glad that we ended on a happy note, and the fact that there wasn't another spy is not a big deal.
Yeah. Ben Levy, thank you for the next one. Do you think the Gideon clones were used by the Emperor for Snoke? Like he was, we got a bunch of these clones. Why not use them to say cryptic stuff? Maybe. I think they were probably, once Din blew those tanks up, I think they were probably done for.
Yeah. I mean, the technology exists, the research exists. So I'm not going to be surprised going forward if we see more people trying more of this same stuff, like trying to make these clones of themselves or of whoever like that. I think that's going to continue to pop up.
I do like the idea that he might use Gideon's / Pershing's research, but I think those specific clones are probably done.
Yeah.
Garth McMurray, thank you. I loved the Flash Gordon movie ending. Mandalorians flying in like Hawkman, Axe's Flash solo flying a flaming spaceship to crash where the villain is to kill him, then a big ceremony of new rulers. That was very like a New Hope / Flash Gordon, the big ceremony at the end to celebrate your victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt like A New Hope there at the end, like the medal ceremony.
Mark Blow II, thank you. Where did the N1 come from at the end? Din was on the gauntlet with Bo, and he clearly went to see Teva before going back to Navarro.
I think he has an autopilot feature where he just says, follow me wherever I go. And the N1 does that.
He could have gone to pick up the N1 and not said hello to Grief. Like, that's possible. Or someone could have picked it up for him. They could have dropped off R5 and he would have brought it over. I don't know.
R5 is the key to all of this.
Joel Ramirez, thank you for another one. Also, was there any credence to Pedro wanting to be done with Din? I doubt it. I absolutely love Grogu and his story and hope he's at least in Filoni's movie. Pedro is a gem. Overall, still love my Mando season 3.
Again, I haven't seen anything about Pedro Pascal not wanting to continue as Mando, but
I think there are rumors mostly coming from Grace Randolph, who is known for being wrong all the time. So,
yeah,
like that's her thing, is directors tweeting at her and being like, hey, you're wrong. And then she just doubles down and goes, well, that's just what my source told me. And they're like, well, I'm the director of the film and I'm telling you you're wrong. And she's like, wow, 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 wow. And it's just, I don't listen to anything she says.
Yeah, I mean, people like her make a living off of
Being wrong.
being wrong and just like doubling down on their wrongness. And it works out for them. She makes so much money.
Dumb. Internet's dumb. The internet's dumb. Bill Rudd, thank you for the next one. If season 2 was filming during season one's release in 2019, the plan for season 3 was probably impacted by COVID a lot too. That's a good point. How many more seasons do you think there will be before the Filoni movie? I have no clue. Of the Mandalorian specifically, I'll go with 3. Just throw a number out.
I was gonna say 2 maybe, but I feel like this whole time I've been thinking COVID had a lot to do, even still, with things being kind of messy and shows and movies and stuff and like release dates. I think COVID happening is still having a ripple effect in a lot of production stuff and might continue to have an effect into the next like year or two, if not more, because like
Yeah.
COVID was a big deal for everybody, and people don't realize how early on stuff like this gets put into production until after it's out, and they're like, yeah, we were working on this back in whatever year, and it'll be like 5-6 years prior. So
Yeah. I think that's a good point and something I hadn't considered. Tony White, thank you. Do you think Din Grogu will miss Space Mom? I don't think Bo-Katan is going to leave his life. I think she'll still be around.
yeah. Aw, Space Mom. I like to think maybe cool space aunt and
I
not
like
mom.
Space Mom.
Maybe. We'll see.
He was sitting in her lap.
Well, yeah. I'm not his mom, but I would absolutely want him in my lap.
Fair. That's fair. Becky, thank you. Don't worry about Tech. I hear his voice actor will be back in season 3. Good point.
If you're trying to console me, it's not working.
Jared Johnson, thank you. My thing with the Darksaber is that right before Gideon destroys it, he says, give it to me, like he still wanted it. Just a weird juxtaposition. I mean, I think that he did want it just to have it. It didn't actually mean anything to him. He destroyed it and he's like, oh, oops, oh well. Like he wants to collect things. He has that imperial mentality of this is mine because I'm powerful enough to take it, but he doesn't actually give a crap about it. So if he squeezes too hard and crushes it, it's not a big deal to him.
He just doesn't know how to use his own suit.
That's true.
What if he secretly was like, oh, dang it, I didn't mean to break the Darksaber. I kind of wanted to use that again, but
Ice, thank you for another super chat. I'm glad the Mythosaur wasn't how they defeated Gideon, like Bo pulling a rabbit out of her helmet. I'm glad they won using their own resources and banding together, not a long-lost mythological beast. I am too. I wasn't super expecting the Mythosaur to pop up in this episode.
I wasn't sure if they were going to have it come out of its slumber or not, because it felt weird that they introduced it and had Bo-Katan see it and then it not come up again. And like we just saw the camera go down and show its face again. So like we know it's down there. Eventually we'll see it come out, I assume. I think it would be weird if they just showed that it was down there and then never did anything else with it.
It comes out on Mythosaur Day. It's like Groundhog Day, but scarier.
Yeah.
Dragonus Prime, thank you. Also, Molly, is someone with chronic lung problems, take care and bundle up next time it gets cold. Chilly weather aggravates them lungs.
Yeah. Luckily, in Atlanta, it's freaking hot
It is
now. Like
not
we
cold at
are
all.
well into getting into the 80s, which now I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you. Power Rangers explained, thank you. I thought the other spy would be Mercedes' character. WWE used to point out she's never turned down the chance to stab her friends in the back.
That's a good point.
That would have been funny.
I'm going to take this opportunity to go because I feel like my nose is running a lot and I have to go blow it and also cook dinner.
Okay, I will get through the rest of these and meet you down there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for caring enough about me to cheer the fact that I'm back doing this live stream. I wish I could have made it to the last one, but I'm glad to be back. Sadly, this is our last live stream for a bit, as far as Mando goes. But
I mean, we're gonna live stream
we'll
tomorrow.
yeah, we're still doing the Lego streams and everything, and probably get into some Jedi Survivor streams once the game is out. But I'm gonna go. Alex is gonna take it from here. But thank you so much, everybody, and we'll get those giveaways shipped out soon.
Got them ready to go.
Bye.
But don't worry, you still have me. Where was I? Corey Hall, thank you for the next one. We'll have to get used to calling them Jaren and Grogu because Din is their family / last name. They call him Din Grogu, similar to how Chinese names work. Yeah, like well, they've also called Din before, and I'm still doing it, but like I think they have called him Din. So I'm still confused as to how that works. I bet it'll get cleared up. This is one of those things that they introduce something and we go, wait a minute, what? How does this work? And then the next season, they'll probably answer it. The Neuro Ravindra, thanks for the next one. After the Bad Batch ends, will there still be an animated stuff beyond Tales of the Jedi, Visions, and Young Jedi Adventures, as in full length 20 to 30-minute shows? I'm sure there will be. I don't think they're going to just abandon Star Wars animation. Not that they would. Like the Bad Batch, for all I know, is doing well and is being well received. So I bet whatever is next is already in production. We just don't know about it yet. I'm the Stein. Thank you. Gideon had to die so his Force clone can show up in the Thrawn movie. Please do not take this seriously. I will not. Yeah, I think that Gideon and his clones. Oh man, excuse me. Gideon and his clones are gone. Sweet Feet Pete, thank you. My sister just had a baby boy. I tried to convince her to name him Ragnar, but haters gonna hate. Molly, good to have you back. Nice try, Sweet Feet Pete. Did you try naming them something Sweet Feet something else that rhymes with Pete? Because I think that would have been cool. Amaranth, thank you for another super chat. The adoption was impactful to me because I know people who have had to fight for a legal name and family. Also, if Din Djarin was born on Akvatina, isn't it possible that his name order is different? That's a good point. That yeah, I like that. That Din Djarin's name, Din Grogu, like maybe they share first again. Like I don't know fully how it works because I'm pretty sure they have called him Din before and Justin, but I do like that it's just Mandalorian culture doesn't take over, it doesn't supersede any pre-existing culture of the foundling that is coming in. Like no one is saying, "Hey, Din Grogu, you're not allowed to use the Force anymore because we're Mandalorians and we don't do that." So that makes sense. Alphonse Collado, thank you. Hey guys, now that the Mandos have their planet back, how do you think that'll play into the Mandoverse? Also, what state do you think Mandalore will be in season 4, both planet and civilization? It will not surprise me at all if the next time we see Mandalore, it's like green again. Uh, according to the Timelines book, which I have sitting right here, the entirety of the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, at least, take place in the same year. Like it just the whole 2 year thing, like where John Favreau said it's been 2 years since we've seen Grogu. He meant 2 of our years, not Star Wars years. So all of it takes place within 1 year. And yet, Navarro is still just this bustling community. So it won't surprise me if we see Mandalore again and it's like, hey, we got grass growing, just because that seems to be the way John Favreau operates in Star Wars, which is fine with me. Calm like a bomb, thank you. How can they wake up the Mythosaur and then leave? It'll be at least a year before we get season 4. That was such a huge tease. Yeah, I think the fact that they showed the Mythosaur again, like they know we want someone to ride that thing. So I do think it's a tease, but I think it will lead somewhere eventually. Jonathan Lewis, thank you for your super chat. Don't see a message attached to it. So Gio Flores, hi, and thank you. Is Cara Dune dead since she was taking Moff Gideon to the trial? I totally didn't think of that till now. That's what was last heard of her, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I'm gonna assume no. I'm gonna go ahead and follow the no body, no death rule since they didn't strictly point that out in episode 6. Was that 6 or 5? Uh whenever that was. But if they had pointed out, I think that would have been a problem as well. Like it's better to just leave that up to everyone's imagination, I think. Sweet Feet Pete, thank you for another one. Next season, somehow Gideon has returned. I'm funny. I mean, you made me laugh, so I agree. Ringside Logic, thank you so much. Sorry if this was already asked, but do you think there will be a time jump between season 3 and 4 where Grogu is taller? I'm going to go with no. I think Grogu is going to stay the same size for the whole series. I think he'll talk eventually, but it'll take a while. Andrew Wolf, thank you for the next one. If Filoni and Favreau were to do a Comic-Con-esque Q&A at Celebration Japan, what would be your one burning question to ask them? Oh, probably something about Cobb Vanth. If I'm being serious, I would probably ask about the development of his character between the Aftermath books, adapting it into the show and stuff like that. If I were joking, it would probably be something about, can we please get a Cobb Vanth series? Jake Hodgson, thank you for the next one. So did R5 get away or did they forget about him? I'm sure they took him with him, or he's just like, I mean, he might be hanging out with on Mandalore with everyone else, but I think I think he's hanging out with people who appreciate him. I don't think we've seen the last of him. He has popped up in every single season. So, and Din called him Buddy this episode. I think we'll see more of R5. Dan V900, thank you for the next one. I liked the finale, didn't love it. It felt like a series finale where I don't see the point in doing a fourth season. They really only had 3 to 4 eps of content stretched over 8 eps, could have been a film. I disagree. I mean, like, I enjoyed watching every single episode. I agree that I liked the finale, didn't love it. I think I would say the same about this entire season. Might be my least favorite season of the series so far, but I still every week was like, it's Wednesday, it's Mando Day. I'm excited to get up and do this. It never felt like a chore to me, which that's kind of how I will know eventually that I'm like, oh, this isn't working for me anymore. Is when I have to do something and it feels like having to do it instead of waking up and being like, It's Mando time. Just the French Canadian Wolfman, thank you. Just says like a bantha. Excellent. Lord Hosk, thank you. Are we keeping you from something? Dinner? Yes, but we're on our way there. Jonathan Lewis, thank you. What happened to R5? Did IG-11 have R5's red striped panel in the end? I can't believe he would be destroyed off screen and not be acknowledged. I think he's fine. IG-11 just had like Navarro colors painted on him. He kind of resembled Grief Karga's robes. I think R5D4 is fine. I agree. They wouldn't just kill him off screen. Andrew711, thank you. Gideon stole his clone idea from Lego Star Wars. Sure. I don't know what that joke means, but sure. Joel Davis, thank you. My take on this season is that Favreau is not a good writer. I disagree with that. I don't think that this season landed for me from a writing perspective, but I think that John Favreau has also written a lot of stuff that I really, really like. And I get like the internet just seems to have a short term memory on whatever the last thing you did is, I'm going to judge you on that and nothing else. And John Favreau has made tons of stuff that I enjoyed. And so maybe it didn't land for me this time, but like David Gould, you nailed it. Chef is excellent. Like that's a great movie and it's about movie making. You think it's about food, but it's actually about movies or filmmaking. So go watch Chef. It's great. But yeah, I would disagree with that. I think John Favreau is very talented, but even the most talented writers don't, land for you every single time. Riley Stafford, thank you for the next one. Anyone think the Mandalorians won too easily? No, that didn't bug me. Because I kind of liked the idea that they just steamrolled the Imperials who thought that they could just take Mandalorian stuff and be like, oh, look at us. We have flamethrowers and whipcords and blasters and jetpacks and Beskar alloy armor, and we're just like you. And they're like, no, you're not. That's just what the Empire does, is they try to take without understanding, and they deserve to be steamrolled. So I was happy that the Mandalorians kicked their asses. Follow up from Joel Davis. Thank you. A big hope for season 4. More writers. I do agree with that. I would not mind more writers. The same way that we have several directors every time. I like having more writers contribute. I mean, The Mandalorian is the kind of show where I think you can do a bunch of different stuff and like, hey, this episode is CSI and this one is a spy drama, which is basically like Andor, and that like you can do different kinds of shows within the Mandalorian. So I would not at all mind seeing more writers step into this playground. Rick Famuyiwa's episode in season 2 is one of my favorites of the series. Ice, thank you for the next 2 super chats here. I like how they christened Ragnar again in the Living Waters, knowing there's a mythosaur down there. Like, are you sure you want to do that with this kid's track record with large creatures? Great point. I liked how Grogu seemed to call out to it, and I definitely do want to see it emerge. It would actually be kind of fitting if it came out of the water later. It awakens when they start rebuilding, but emerges at their full might. Yeah, I like that too. And I think that is probably something that John Favreau is thinking of because he thinks in that kind of symbolic way. And like we're talking about, I think it doesn't always line up with the symbolism I see, but I do think you're probably thinking in the same way that Favreau does. Deidre Russell, thank you for the next 2 super chats. Close combat hammer is hella usefully. Glad you feel better, Molly. And I so hoped Din would take off the helmet now that he has a choice without being declared an apostate. Me too. But I guess Pedro Pascal wasn't on set that day. but I'm with you. I want him to take that helmet off and have that freedom. Andy, thank you for the next one. From the UK. Love from the UK. Love your channel. Yes, 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 yes. I'm trying to get the same amount of yeses that you wrote. But thank you, Andy. Dan V900, just make the Mandalorian an anthology show going forward. Might as well do a season about the Mandalorian Jedi, Tar Vizsla, and one with Canderous Ordo. No, I like it being centered around Din and Grogu. I still see them as the heart of the show. But I wouldn't mind a Mandalorian anthology series. I think that doing an episode or three about Tar Vizsla and Tales of the Jedi would be really cool. Esteban Benitez, thank you for your first super chat. Was hoping Din would be mind flayed, brainwashed bad guy for season 4, then learn what it means to be Mandalorian for season 5. Oh, that's dark. I don't think I could have handled Grogu being separated from Din for a season like that. Like being separated because one of you is training is one thing, but because your father got brainwashed, that's rough. That's pretty dark. Neil R. Adamson, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. The Spies title from the last episode follows the Moses Exodus themes of the 12 spies in the Old Testament, referring to the small group of Mandalorians who went down to the surface of the planet to scout, Bo, Din, Paz, etc. We talked about this earlier in the stream, but yeah, I think you are absolutely right. Uh, I did not think of that theory myself. Someone on our Patreon actually sent it to me. And then I saw it on Twitter a handful of times. But yeah, the fact that we didn't learn about any more spies for sure makes me agree with that. That it's like that's what it means. It's a biblical reference, a mythological reference, however you want to look at it. I absolutely think that was Favreau's intent. WebFox100, thank you. Will you update the Mechs in Star Wars video to include Grogu piloting IG-12? I wasn't thinking about it, but maybe in like a year. I'm not gonna jump on it right now because I have plenty of other videos to do. Deidre Russell, thank you for another super chat. Hope season 4 is just the two of them kicking ass, learning lessons, saving villagers, just father and son. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for too. Is just the focus on them, and they're going around the galaxy. And yeah, sometimes Sabine Wren is there or whoever. Like I still think they will connect to the larger galaxy, but I want the focus to be on them. David James, thank you for the next one. If you've gotten to this message, go eat already. I'm almost there, and I will. But thank you. Just another remnant. Thank you for your super chat. Maybe it was a sticker that I can't see on StreamYard, but thank you nonetheless. Queerasant, thank you for the next super chat. I know you're not sold on the armor, but how cool was she fighting on a jetpack with her hammer? Love the channel, love the positivity. I'm actually pretty sold on the armor at this point. I think that is the armor that we're meant to see is the one with the jetpack fighting with her hammer for Mandalore. I apologize to the armor and how much crap I gave her over the course of this season. It was unjustified. Just another remnant sent another super chat as well. I'm gonna see if it was a sticker. Oh, it just says message retracted. Okay, but thank you. Just another remnant. Deidre Russell with another one. Thank you. We all know Molly is really the mom Grogu needs. I think she would argue that's the truth. Uh, she would never let him go though. Honestly, Molly would be kind of a helicopter parent. Like she would never let Grogu out of her sight just because she wants to look at him constantly. Ice, thanks for another super chat. I was so happy seeing IG-11 being rebuilt and being the new Marshal, and a nice touch that when Khalil rebuilt IG, his function and catchphrase became to nurse and protect. Now it's serve and protect. That's fun. I was glad to see that come full circle as well, because they set it up in episode 1, and I was like, that's weird that they kind of abandoned it in episode 2. but all the way in episode 8. They brought it home. Ken Plume, thanks so much for the super chat. Here's to you and Molly getting some rest. That's funny because I'll bring up this meme again. Not that I'm complaining. Like, I am really excited for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but that's funny. Tyler Chartier, hey, and thank you for the super chat. IG11's paint matched Cobb Vanth's belt buckle. Oh, that's interesting. Kind of like a Marshall vibe. I looked at it. I looked at it as if it were Grief's outfit, like Nefaro's colors, but I like that too. That it's just Marshall colors. Martin Russell, thanks so much for the super chat. Hey, Damon, given that folks refer to Favreau and Filoni by their family names, why couldn't folks refer to Din by his? Well, that's the argument of like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, why not? Why not call him Jaren? I mean, I think we can. It's just something that will take some getting used to. Madman's Knowledge, thank you for the next super chat. I have mixed feelings about this season, but overall enjoyed it for what it is. I'm not overly impressed or disappointed. Have a nice dinner. Thank you. That's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I really had fun watching these episodes for the last 8 weeks. Uh, there were moments that really blew me away. There were episodes that I truly loved, like The Spies. That's one of my favorite episodes of the series, period. But yeah, at the end of the day, season 3, I was like, I liked it. I'm still excited for season 4 and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and everything else that is coming down the pipeline. But it didn't grab me the same way that season 2 did for sure. Pigpen, thank you for the last super chat. Do you think you could beat Grogu in arm wrestling? If he were allowed to use the Force, no, because he would Force choke me to death. If he weren't allowed to use the Force, yeah, I think I got him. I think I could take the little baby. My apologies, though. That was not the last super chat. Because Lin Koyo has one more here. Thank you. Quick super chat. Now I need to see you cosplay as Din and Molly as Bo to have the whole Mando family with Grogu. I would like that. I think I would like to cosplay as Cobb Vanth more. But Din would be a fun one. And I see a lot of good ones at Dragon Con. But yeah. Okay. That is going to be it for this stream and for The Mandalorian Season 3. Not all of our coverage, because I still have some videos coming out about it in the next week as we prep up for Star Wars Jedi Survivor next week, which I'm super psyched to cover. But that's going to be it for streaming. So thank you all for hanging out. Lord Hosk, are we still keeping you from something? No, because I'm wrapping up. Thank you for one more super chat, Lord Hosk. We are going to end for the day and the night. We are going to be back tomorrow to stream our Lego build. We're maybe going to finish the Razor Crest, which will be fitting. But Lego streams are going to be back tomorrow, so we'll hang out again in no time. So look forward to seeing you all tomorrow or soon. Thank you all for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed The Mandalorian Season 3 and our after show coverage. And may the Force be with you.